the stream and the recording, please skip ahead. I will put a timestamp. I'm waiting for the audience to come, and then we'll be discussing. Then in general, in terms of agenda, I have certain things that I would like to discuss that have been on my mind, that are popping up in my head for some time already. So, plus also there are some things that got inspired by my most recent video on omega-3s. And so that's what I would like to discuss. Plus the questions when people join. Hello. Hi. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. I was saying that in terms of today's agenda, there are some things that I would like to discuss. Hi, Pineapple Pie. That I would like to discuss with regards to the latest video. There are some things that have been kind of on my mind regarding the message of my channel, the message of my work, because I think that there is some disconnect. And another thing is more, like I guess, metaphysical, is that I would like to better curate the main idea of my work, the main idea of my channel, because I don't thrive off the idea of division. I don't thrive of the idea of kind of, I don't know, like triggering people and whatnot. So I would like to make it straight and, so to speak, formulate a more prolific, more positive message such that it's clear. So I want to do something that would make it like really pronounced, because you know, what I miss about my raw vegan days is that I had a very positive message. I had a very prolific idea, very cheerful, like high vibes, and I was selling something. Now I'm selling the idea of not something. So it's kind of like counter idea. I'm from Russia, Akash. Hi everyone, thank you for joining. Kiss from Italy, kisses back to Italy. Hello everyone. So I kind of like, you know, with this opposition to veganism, I feel like there is a trap where you sit like a victim, like, oh, I got like deceived by veganism, oh, I got all of those, whoever is demanding kisses. Yeah, you can ask me something, but respect the platform guidelines and general courtesy. So basically, yeah, it's a very tempting thing to get stuck in the victimhood of that. Veganism damaged me, veganism did this to me, vegan MDs are also like harmful grifters and stuff like that. And I don't want that. I don't want this on my channel. I basically want to develop different energy, so to speak, different projections, and that is basically what I've been working on, like behind the scenes. I've been trying to get my energy straight with my work. Somebody mentioned you're a scientist, don't listen to haters. It's not listening to haters, it's again, I see my videos and I see myself that could be different, that could better relate to how I imagine myself, basically. So that's the sentiment. And with that in mind also, on the other hand, yes, I make a lot of content that kind of debunks veganism, right? Debunks vegan assumptions, debunks veganism, because again, yes, I'm coming from a place where I did a lot of research on veganism. I went vegan. I thought that it was a great idea. I thought that it was the best thing that made total sense, and the only thing that was separating yourself from being successful vegan was discipline, which I embarked on the highest discipline practice of veganism. I was a raw vegan. I was eating very well calculated meals to address all my micronutrient needs and stuff like that. So I was on this discipline and it didn't work, despite the fact that I was disciplined. And I thought that this discipline was the only way, was the guaranteed way to succeed. And so right now, I'm trying to understand what are the flaws in veganism, because despite the fact that I could do everything right, there's no way to do it right. And so the goal of my work is to find where indeed people are getting deceived, where there are blank spots in veganism, because it's such a promoted lifestyle. And so when I start researching that, people get offended. Like vegans who come to my channel, they get offended with the fact that I'm basically saying that whatever vegan MDs say does not apply to 100% of people in 100% of cases, because there are these and these limitations, there are these and these conditions to that to possibly work. For example, if we think of like phytase, like you will be able to break down phytic acid and will be extracting the protein and minerals from phytic acid complexes, right? That you will be able to break down oxalates in your gut because bacteria will be breaking down the oxalates, that you will learn to break down seaweed polysaccharides eventually. So when you think about that as a vegan, you think that, okay, it will be a successful diet because, you see, we will adapt. We will be converting more omega-3, like there was in my latest video. In my latest video, there was this theme that conversion rate is too low. But vegan MDs tell us that in vegans, conversion rate will increase. So when you're deficient, your body does increase conversion rate from plant fatty omega-3s to very long-chain omega-3s. But it's an assumption. It's an assumption. What I have conflict with is that, not that it's not right. It may be right. As a scientist, I approach it in a way that it may be right, but other things may be right as well. I cannot afford saying that this will work in 100% of cases, and there's no way anyone could have any problems with certain nutrient. It's just not true. Even if you design the most perfect diet, you still can have those problems because there are so many biochemical factors that can influence that. And this is what I want to deliver. It's not the fact that you cannot be vegan no matter what. No, the message of my channel, the message of my work is that not that you will always fail as a vegan day one, you will never be able to do, your body will never turn into this biochemical machine like vegan MDs promise. But I want to deliver that there's a huge chance, there's huge possibility of many things working differently from that possibility that they promise and base the entire vegan nutrition science on. Because the entire vegan nutrition science is based on that assumption that you will adapt to being malnourished, that you will adapt to converting nutrients, that you will adapt to be able to make the enzymes. So basically, vegan diet should require you to have totally different biochemistry, totally different adaptations. But at what expense, first of all? How long it will take you to get to that point? And why would you make, as we discussed in the video on non-essential nutrients, why would you want to turn the adaptation that your body has to survive into a lifelong thing that you would want to rely on? Why rely on the merely survival tool to thrive? It's impossible in most cases. As a scientist, I'm using soft language. I cannot claim that 100% of cases will be, as some focused singular study says. I cannot claim that. And so this is what I do on my channel. And people perceive that as an attack on their lifestyle. And that's not, it's not what I want. It's basically I want people to be able to make more informed choices, because if they stumble upon my content, then the algorithm delivers it to them, which means that they are looking for related information, that they see my content in the algorithm. And so it is kind of, I allow people to see more diversified information online with the evidence, such that there is no false optimism. And that's another, I had a comment exchange with one person, and they said that as a vegan, they got awoke from veganism by learning about the very low conversion rates of certain nutrients. And my first question was, how did you as a vegan come to the point when you were able to receive that information? Because it's really difficult. It's really difficult when you're inside of the vegan bubble to actually see that information, because you have an alternative. You have an alternative that tells you that everything is okay, everything is going to be okay, and you can do that. And that you're prohibited to look elsewhere, because it's the nature of the best diet possible. And so to me, this is like surprising thing that, but also very like, let's say, encouraging thing that people actually can be receptive to that. But usually it is one study that vegans come to me with, and they're like, this one study debunks everything. Or this one doctor debunks everything. This one doctor like has evidence that it debunks everything. You cannot debunk me. You cannot debunk me, because what I do, my work, is showing that there are millions of possibilities. And where you particularly are depends on many factors. And you may not be able to predict the outcomes based on some of the most optimistic assumption that is made by vegan MDs. Yeah, veganism relies on betting on assumptions and having optimism that if there is a range of conversion rate, etc., they assume they're on the high side of the range without ever checking it. Precisely. Precisely. And again, I don't know why I'm perceived sometimes as I'm attacking somebody's lifestyle. Because I'm not. It's a thing. As I was vegan, imagine, first 4 years while I was preparing to become vegan, I listened to all sorts of content on veganism. I was purposefully getting conditioned to become a vegan. I was listening to multiple arguments. What happens to this nutrient, this nutrient, this nutrient, this nutrient, how to like eat greens, what are the implications of these nutrients being substituted with these and stuff like that. Like choline, then betaine thing, then amino acids insufficiency, hello, and so on. So I conditioned myself to, I think you have stuck buttons, you keep typing hi all the time. So I listened to all of those things, I had faith in all of those things, and when I became towards raw veganism, I already was equipped with the knowledge why raw veganism is a good idea. And so I kept going, learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. And it felt like I achieved certain like point where I was fully convinced about what I was doing, and that was the point when I became the most passionate about my lifestyle and started destroying me. Oi, quantos años tienes tú? What will it be? 30. Yeah, but so, the message of my channel. I want, this is why I'm setting the intention, I want, and now I'm doing a lot of the practices to bring myself to the point of delivering not the counter message, but delivering some pro message, let's say. And because I notice again that when you're a debunker, being a debunker is a very difficult energetics place to be in, because you are always based off some existing fallacies, you understand it. And I want to promote something, to return back to the energies that I had when I was working on raw vegan content. Because then I was promoting something that I believed in. Now though, how vegan experience and raw vegan experience shaped me probably, it was that I had the partial crash in terms of my beliefs, so I learned the lesson to not become overly passionate about any like lifestyle, any belief system or anything. And that's why probably my energy, the delivery kind of, the intensity of delivery probably got dampened a little bit because I became overly careful. And that does not address the power that I have, the power and passion that I have towards things that ignite me. And so, yeah, these have been the thoughts lately. How can I turn it into a pro message? Not to fuel this war between vegans and non-vegans. How can I fuel peace? How can I fuel positivity and empowerment? So being dogmatic is all okay. There is another thing. True, vegans love to lie. When I started to debunk them, I eat raw food, even raw meat. I just like to cook and use spices. Have very beautiful eyes. Thank you so much for the compliment. Being dogmatic is always a little bit dangerous. What kind of raw meat do you know? Fish. I mean, I also eat raw fish. I had to brainwash myself like crazy before trying raw meat. Yeah, that's the thing actually. I probably would need to go somewhere, probably to Yakutsk somewhere, to the restaurant where they have a know-how how to prepare it properly, where I will see that everybody around me does that, because on my own, in the comfort of my home, I probably wouldn't be doing that alone. I don't know. I want some authority to introduce me to that. Yeah, I mean, fish is easy because, again, it's literally just programming. Previous programming, I've been eating it since childhood, so it's easy. Meat, though? So, yeah, that's the thing. Raw meat kind of doesn't stick. The idea of trying it doesn't stick to me. I don't know. I want to try it, but not so much. Do you mean to strong paradigm? Okay, there's some chatting going on. I made that video that I was craving raw meat, kind of like conceptual, you know, because again, I'm coming from raw vegan background for 3.5 years, and again, I enjoyed the lifestyle so much. It's really good. So with raw meat, yeah, it would be a natural transition probably. With raw fish, I don't know, like the texture of raw meat is also different. I mean, my maximum probably was prosciutto. That was the raw meat that I was eating. Well, I'm from Caribbean. I remember as a child eating a group of small fish alive, fishing with my uncle. Make sure the raw meat is clean. I know how to make sure. I mean, again, my long-term idea. I really wish I had implemented that idea when I was switching the diet. Was a microscope. I really want to have a microscope such that I can again do washes of the meat and see the bacterial cultures. Fish with potential, I know, like parasite eggs and whatnot. Because you trust not only the farmer, you also need to trust the butcher, that they have good hygiene. And you know, I recently, just walking my dog, I witnessed such a scene. I probably won't be talking about it, but it really reminded me of how poor human hygiene is, actually, and how inconsiderate some humans are when it comes to hygiene. Some things that are super easy to avoid and prevent spreading of certain things. So I was exposed to a lot. Then also, I don't know, actually, you know what? There was one moment that made me weary of going to the restaurant. and it was some cafeteria, and I saw how people were handling food. Oh my god, after that, I got so weary of eating out because the person was so pissed. First of all, I have this peculiarity that I treat food with a lot of reverence, especially when like I'm serving it to others. For me, food is whole like ritual. I like to serve just the table. I like to make everything very beautiful because it conveys a lot of the emotion. It becomes you. And even if you don't believe in all sorts of energies, if you don't believe in, I don't know, vibes and everything, you, you're still, I don't know, you still kind of like convey more than just a material food to you, to people, to yourself. And so for me, eating is a pretty sacred ritual that I always appreciate. I always respect that ritual. And when I see that people, for example, drop something, throw something, act upset around food, then grab it like that, like it's some, I don't know, dirty mop, I feel like I'm not gonna touch this. It's not food at this point. So I have this weird thing. Yeah, so with that, you need to know the people who produce this meat for you. Yeah. Or raise it yourself, I guess. Overcleaning yourself as a human makes us weak, emo. It removes protective oils. This is why I never took the. Okay. Now that, yeah, I mean, you are comparing basic hygiene with pharmaceutical experimentation. I agree with the later, but I disagree with the first statement per se because we don't live in the environment where humans are natural. You're dealing with way more than humans who live in nature do. In general, in the cities, I mean, I can walk inside of the apartment in the shoes after, for example, I walked through the forest. If there's natural mud, natural dirt, I will never walk inside of my apartment in the shoes after I went into the city. Never. Because the cities contain so much more and it doesn't biodegrade like it would in the nature, for example. Because you don't have the proper bacteria, you don't have proper like things that could metabolize like organic wastes. And then you also have a bunch of stuff that just does not belong in our human habitat, natural habitat. That's why I don't share the sentiment of avoiding certain hygiene. In fact, I probably have a little bit like OCD going on there as well. Because again, I see I was working in the offices and people don't wash hands after they use bathroom. Even like you see those respected people in these suits, they work in the offices, they make six-figure salaries, but they don't do that. Why? There is pretty nice soap. If you don't like that soap, bring your own soap and stuff like that. There are ways to be hygienic with pleasure and in any circumstance. But they just don't do it. It's not the part of their routine. It's not the part of how they feel about the world. And I don't like it. Because I know how to be responsible for myself. I know like how I can take care of my space, hygienically and stuff. But I don't want those people to influence my space with their practices. We don't share bacteria and stuff. Fair point. Overcleaning too much sterility is unnatural. At the same time, we live in a natural environment nowadays. Yeah. Again, the city is gross. Like I told this so many times probably that when I lived in Moscow, I would do a swab for my skin. I used the toner. I had to use skincare in Moscow because even if you don't wear makeup, you come home, you wash your face with cleanser, then you grab a cotton disc, put toner, you wipe your face, the disc is gray. You clean your nose, everything that comes out is gray. You live in the metropolitan, you inhale so much crap, it sits on your face, it sits on your skin. It's not natural, it's not good to keep it on. So yeah, all this like natural hygiene, it applies perhaps maybe in some natural environments, but then again, I don't see that people who live in natural environments have excellent health and excellent life quality and stuff like that. The perfume, you're mentioning perfumes are different too. A lot of perfumes, they make me sneeze too. I mean, I'm a connoisseur of perfumes, and it really depends on what perfume we're talking about, because a lot of people, perfumery industry is an interesting one, because as any industry nowadays, they cater to a mass consumer, and the quality of everything decreased. So people want, in simplicity of things increase, so demand for simple things, very in your face, there's like no delicacy, there is no finesse in a lot of the perfumes that are produced nowadays. Plus also, you're mentioning that perfumes make you sneeze. There are actually certain regulations in place that forced reformulations of the perfumes compared to their predecessors, because now there are different standards for allergies, and I don't, you see, when like natural ingredients are more likely to cause allergies than non-natural ingredients. But when you use non-natural ingredients, they can become offensive in some other fashion. And because of that, perfumery nowadays is very tricky. You really need to know what to look for. Whale blubber perfume, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, so perfumery is a separate art, and you really need to know what to look for nowadays, especially. And I don't consider perfume to be a part of natural hygiene either, because, I mean, in Japan, perfumes are in general not used. But Japanese people, they're less odorous as is, and they have very high standards for cleanliness too. So they're not, they don't need to mask any of their stench, because perfume tradition that came from Europe, where there was problem with hygiene, right? So to mask the smells, people opted for perfumes, for colognes, different aromatic compounds. Plus also they used for rituals and stuff, but mostly it was to mask the lack of hygiene. So perfumery, I would not attribute that. But you won't find camaraderie in me in terms of not using products of hygiene. So that's the bottom line. I cannot relate to that. I made a video on what is natural, on naturalism. Naturalism in the sense that not that we live in material world and the matter is the only thing that exists and is factual and determines everything that we experience. But naturalism in terms of philosophy that brings people to ditch all the civilization and live the natural ways. And something, by the way, that I didn't mention in that video on the subject of naturalism, there are so many tribes living without being touched by the civilizations. And they all have different customs. There are no, tribes usually they have their own unique customs. So there is no such thing as living naturally as Homo sapiens. Nature is always determined by your circumstances, by your ecosystem, by your whatever makes sense. And then again, whatever, in that video, the message was that whatever happens is natural. If we assume that human consciousness is natural, if human consciousness and creativity are not natural, then everything that humans did was unnatural. So there is no middle point there. And so if we came up with something, then just pure as natural as anything else, because our mind is natural. Milk and blood, they also eat honey. Tribes are the best. Which tribes? No, name me the tribes. I just recently watched about the tribes that eat not milk and blood. They eat mostly roots. Their teeth are rotten. They eat only plants, pretty much, for the most part. There are plenty of tribes. I mean, I actually want to do some ethnography, maybe study, when I have time, when I'm out of this ex-vegan theme. And I want to study different tribes, what they do, because, again, there's no uniformity across them. There is a tribe that lives nomadic lifestyle, and they eat meat largely. It's one of the African tribes. Their lifespan is one of the smallest. They have patriarchal order, and they travel from place to place. They're one of the lowest lifespan, life expectancies there is across the tribes because of their lifestyle, because of their customs, because of what they do. So the big belly competition, I believe that tribe offset of the Maasai tribe, yeah. Yeah, I think if I understood what you said, then yeah, I think so. But yeah, there's again, I watched, by the way, on Instagram, I recently got advertised the page. There was some tribe, and somebody lives with them and films them every day. So the blogger takes pictures and videos of that tribe daily life. And I was shocked. Remember how everybody talks about Western prize works, right? So about the teeth. Those people, they eat a ton of meat. They eat some vegetables too. Their teeth are of color of, I don't know, very strong green tea with some dark brown spots everywhere. I was like, wow, this is to me this looks very interesting to me. Because they, presumably they eat a lot of animal products, but their teeth look like that. I would want to dig into that. Maybe they do something else. So yeah, that was a very eye-opening thing to me, to not assume that something applies to everyone no matter what. Seeing that tribe literally like made me kind of cautious and more, it gave me a bit more well-rounded perspective on the issue of, for example, dental health correlated with animal product consumption, as opposed to, like, for example, trusting that you can be on animal-based keto diet, for example, and not worry about your teeth, never brushing them and stuff like that, and everything will be good. It doesn't seem to work this way if we take this tribe into account that I saw. Maybe I'll be able to find it. I don't know. It would be interesting to look more closely, more attentive to that. That's kind of gross, so I was like, I decided not to watch that. At the same time, by the way, we look at those tribes, they have those teeth, and then we look at the predator animals. We look at lions, we look at tigers, we look at wolves. They have white, beautiful teeth, so they don't get stained like that. So I was like, what do these tribes do? That was not clear to me. Maybe I'll find it. And that actually is an interesting topic. I would also really want to find some papers, some studies on the evolution of the diets of different tribes, because there was several kind of heartbreaking instances where I was exposed to how different tribes were converted to the Western way of living. And one was, it was totally different context, but it was about Polynesian tribes. And then there were also some tribes in the Amazon, I think. Basically, there were some religious missionaries who came there, told people that their way of living is wrong, and they spent several decades there, converted people to a totally different way of living, brought them, actually one of my relatives she lived in post-Soviet country, and in the early 2000s, there was an influx of American sects, different American churches. They went around and they seeded their presence in the ex-Soviet republics, ex-Soviet countries. And I remember it was so pitiful because those missionaries, they send those gift of benevolence, which consists of some like American sweets, some chocolates, peanut butter, and stuff like that. And so that's the vibe. So it spreads not only the philosophy, this spreads not only the religion, but it also spreads the dietary traditions. And another thing was, I remember I watched something about India. I watched something about some other African tribes, and visiting those tribes. They have those pavilions where they sell chocolates, where they sell soda, and it looks so sad. Because, yeah, okay, if those people, they have hunger problems, for example, they don't even receive food with those missionaries. They receive anti-food because whatever, we cannot call those items, edible items, food, because they take more resources. And if we explore how they work in the body, those foods, they take more resources from the body to metabolize them and get rid of them than they give to the body. Read, I don't know, sugar water. Sugar water will do approximately nothing. It will only cause body to like produce a bunch of insulin to remove it and stuff like that. It will take a lot of vitamin C, it will take a lot of zinc, a lot of magnesium, it will take a lot of calcium, it will just leach a bunch of minerals to process it. And then also how much it will like take to repair pancreas afterwards and stuff. I'm 38, my wisdom teeth was never removed and still growing. We don't remove them in the Caribbean. I also never had a cavity. That's cool. That's cool. I had one. That would be interesting, especially with the dental health topic. Never had a cavity, but more transparent teeth while plant-based. Yeah, actually, I also had these like tips of the teeth. They also became more transparent. And so I've been working on remineralizing them. Because yeah, my enamel suffered. Like the enamel suffered definitely from plant-based diet. And especially, it happened literally, I go to the dentist regularly for checkups. And my thing, it was fine, and then in the last year of veganism, it just like tanked. So it was almost sudden, or maybe it became diagnosable. I don't know, but yeah, there was a need to start restoring the enamel afterwards. And you know what? I was like on all sorts of like this natural dental treatments. I found a lady online. She's a dentist, and started doing like xylitol and stuff like that. Yeah, the tips. Yeah. That's where we can see that. It's like, remember, by the way, I made the thing for people who quit veganism to measure the nose with calipers, because that's the only tissue where you can see the collagen thickness in the body, because other things you cannot measure them very well. But here you can actually have numerical data. Same with teeth, because the tips become too transparent. Had to stop because I was losing my mental health. What was your sign to quit? My sign to quit was, there were several. One big thing was that I no longer looked like I was supposed to. You have an image, you have an impression how you should look. You know exactly how you should look. But then you suddenly look in the mirror and you get shocked because it's no longer you. I have a post and I have video. On my channel, you can see there are like photographs of me in chronological order. I cropped them from the videos. To the extent that when I made the video, I started researching, okay, apparently I was losing collagen. And I made video on how to enhance the collagen synthesis. But on vegan diet, it's impossible because you're destroying collagen much faster because of the deficiencies, because of homocysteine. So you can do anything. For collagen, you can take as much supplement. If you don't moderate the concurrent destruction of collagen, you're not going to succeed, apparently. So I was researching that and I made that video, and that video was already when I had this crisis. I wanted to figure out how to fix that. And I remember I couldn't look at the videos that I was filming. I was like, it just made me cry. And a lot of like subtle things that people, like only very close circle noticed. And then that was one of the biggest triggers. It was the thing that made me very aware of the problem, because other things were bothering me at all, like a lot as well, such as the injury. So in 2023, in September, I was working out and I tore something in my hip. Doing workout that I have been doing for 8 years. The same exact workout. The year before then, I tore something when I was doing some acrobatics. And I always did acrobatics. And I always was very brave doing things. Tore something, took me 2 months to recover. Then a year later, in 2023, like 6 months before I quit, or 7 months before I quit, it was a simple squat. And it never healed. It wasn't healing. And then my skin was looking like not myself anymore. So and then another thing, by the way, I did blood work too. I was doing blood work before I went vegan and during I was vegan, during veganism. And I went to do blood work, and that's when I already knew to test for parathyroid hormone. And my parathyroid hormone was, imagine like the reference range ends at 70. Mine was in the hundreds, which indicates that my skeleton was getting broken down. And that also felt. When I quit veganism, I realized that indeed those things that I was ascribing to just natural aging were not natural aging, they were malnourishment. So I understood a lot of things after I quit veganism as well. But the triggers were the appearance. Literally just not myself. And again, I saw my parents, I saw my dad, I saw my mom, I saw my photographs, saw my brother, and nobody had those features that I developed as a vegan. Can you do a backflip into a split? As a dude, I would fracture my spine. Okay, I'm far from flexible. No, I can't do backflip because I'm scared. I think you need to train those things as a child. Because before you get like timid, before your aspect ratio becomes too long and you start being scared of falling. I can do splits. I can do handstand with a split, but I support myself at the wall a little bit. But yeah, I can do that stuff. And I can bend too as well, very well. Actually, you know, that lower back mobility, pretty arguable point. I learned that as impressive as it is to be able to bend your lower back as much as possible, as impressive as it is, if you have hypermobility, that actually worsened on vegan diet for me. If you have hypermobility, it can be quite difficult to live with. And yeah, I developed that thing when I was little because I went to dance school, professional dance school when I was 5. That had some like acrobatics, that had some stretches and stuff like that. So I kept like maintaining that shape. But yeah, flexibility has always been my forte, I guess. And I try to maintain it. But again, vegan diet is scary. Nowadays, yesterday, I was so happy. Like, it's so stupid, but it's so happy. I was stretching before bed, and I was doing like right side split, and then I twisted into the left side split, but I didn't like do it accurately, like carefully, and I stretched something, and I was like, oh, curious how it will heal. But didn't feel bad. It felt like in good old days, which made me very happy. Porg. I had hormone issues, bad PMS, depressive mood, and brain fog every month. Low cholesterol and omega-3. That actually reminded me too that at some point I was lightheaded during periods. That's pretty interesting as well. How long have you been, by the way, past veganism at this point? And what diet are you on right now? And how it feels now? If you can type it in. So, what I was actually, while you're writing, if you're writing, I wanted to talk about something. I think I want to create a domain on my channel for grain-free lifestyle, basically. And that's basically the intercept between my raw veganism, because again, some parts of raw veganism I enjoyed quite a bit, and adding animal products to that. I want to, after I'm done with veganism, I want to study the subject of grains, and that will have a lot of the horizons with respect to the history of grains, how throughout the human history grains were adopted, what health and social consequences they had, in general to study agriculture, and how modern grains are different from the old-fashioned grains and stuff like that. So that is something that I am pro-passionate. You know how we started with that, making debunking veganism content is anti-something. If veganism dies, there is no message anymore. But I want to be passionate about something, and something I'm passionate about, naturally, not like passionate, like wow, everybody should do this. No, something that I'm enthusiastic about is grain-free lifestyle, because that is something that I found to just work. And unlike with raw vegan diet, probably I find this subject to be maybe less like, oh, this is the answer of answers, but I know that there are a lot of people who could benefit from that. And part of why I'm passionate about this lifestyle is because I know people with autoimmune disorders who actually were prescribed the diets that are completely grain-free, completely legume-free. And so, you know, there is this Dr. Gundry who talks about lectins. And all grains contain all sorts of lectins. There's a lot of like plant staples of human diets. They contain lectins. It's a very curious and intriguing research subject, and very polarizing, because I know that there are a lot of people who also say that everyone can do fine with lectins. It's a fad to avoid them. It works. And so this is another area where I can step in with the same method, with the same research approach of showing that it doesn't always hold true. And there are people who can, for these and these reasons, benefit from this lifestyle. And I want to study the genetic predisposition for being more sensitive to certain things, to look also at the composition of the grains, different grains, how they vary between each other, because you know there's a huge difference. People even notice huge differences between European wheat and American wheat or imported wheat. There's so many variables to that, so I want to study that, and I hope it will be interesting. So I'm 38. Have you seen any gray hair since you are like 25 years old? Had gray hair as a teen. Now only mild PMS. I think after 3 years almost vegan it started. Also, and look at all photos, after 2-3 years the deterioration started. Another person says, sounds like you're edging towards a keto diet. I don't know, I eat fruits. I don't eat like much fruit. Like I'm definitely not on Paul Saladino's diet. Because he is that person who is grain-free, technically, and not carnivore. I do eat salads, which I substitute some of the fruits, let's say, with certain salads, because I like my food. Literally just, I wash dandelion greens and parsley or dill. It's very refreshing, very pleasant to eat them. But yeah, I don't eat as much fruit because I just simply cannot access many fruits when they're ripe, especially. It's very difficult to find good quality fruits, nearly impossible, unless you live in the tropics where they are produced. Because it's a funny thing, I had You know how some like fruitarian influencers, they live in like in Florida or somewhere in warm places, but you go to the tropical forest, there are no fruits. They all grow in plantations. It's very rare when you will find an edible wild fruit tree. So it still depends on some form of agriculture, and to have them ripe, to have them with nutrients, to have them with vitamins, you need to consume them when they are freshly picked, not when they sit on your shelf for a week and ripen. It just doesn't do that. It doesn't accumulate nutrients. It only breaks down some acids into sugars as it sits on the shelf, but it doesn't accumulate the necessary nutrients because it's separated from the tree, the fruits. So just because of those constraints, I cannot do, let's say, Paul Saladino's diet. Another thing is that I'm not so keen on fermented dairy, let's say. I'm not so keen on much dairy as well. I drink cacao, that's my favorite thing. And again, I'm not as strict with certain foods, like greens, like chocolate. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting actually to get tested for ketosis, but I doubt that I'm there because, again, dairy contains, milk contains sugar. That's, again, my favorite kind of dairy is just milk. That contains sugar, some of it. Then I eat like maybe 2-3 apples a day. Actually, I will be making what I ate in a day video. What I want to do, I want to show what I ate in a day right now and compare it in the same video with what I ate as a raw vegan. Because I think that will be a very interesting video, because I made this video with analytics of what I ate in a day as a raw vegan, because my diet was pretty consistent. Every day I was doing pretty much the same thing with like plus minus some, swapping like 2-3 meals and maybe adding some dessert every now and then. I made that video, a very detailed analysis. I had an Excel file with all the data. No one watched it. I literally referenced that video in every single analytics. Every single vegan who came to my channel and said that, oh, you didn't know what you were doing as a vegan. You didn't know, you didn't go to the doctor. You didn't eat, you didn't do this, you don't know what nutrition is. You don't even know how to spell the word nutrition. It's like that. And so that is funny. But no, none of those people, they gave me a chance to actually show them what I was doing. So I want to make a separate video in which I will be explicitly describing what it was with some brief analytics, and that will be the thing. But yeah, nowadays I eat like maybe 3 apples per day. If they're good oranges, I'll eat a couple of oranges, maybe a banana a couple of times a week. But my diet is so simple and so straightforward nowadays. I don't know, just greens and meat. And sometimes I make like liver with sour cream and mushrooms. Sometimes I eat a little bit of mashed potatoes. There's a very cool recipe. I forgot the name of the author. It's a French recipe for mashed potatoes that basically have probably 1-to-2 ratio of butter to potatoes. So it's like very heavy butter meal, and because I can't eat butter on its own, but I really like it with mashed potatoes, that's what I do sometimes for butter's sake. Then I also make chocolate butter, by the way. That's my way to trick myself into eating butter for vitamin K2. I'm bothering myself with that only because right now I'm still in the recovery phase. I need to go to the dentist to do x-rays to see the enamel profile again. So if that's good, then I will probably be dialing back on dairy, but we'll see. But yeah, nowadays, yeah, with butter, that's my priority kind of for vitamin K2 primarily. Then eggs, by the way, ghee, no, I don't like ghee, no. It's even stronger than butter, probably. I get Kerrygold. I'm playing for a low-carb, hyper-carnivore diet. I don't eat much veggies because it's a waste of money. If you don't enjoy them, yeah, why bother? You know what was a waste of money? Now that you reminded me of my raw vegan days, waste of money was that hemp that I ate so much of hemp and flax. That was waste of money, but we learned the lesson. So yeah. And what was I saying before that? Ghee? Yeah, ghee I don't like. I don't like yogurts even anymore as much. I don't know, in summer I was really going for raw kefir, it was so good. But then when the weather cooled down for some reason, I stopped wanting it. It's like sour and cold. I don't want that. I buy, you know what I buy by the way? I buy marinated herring. And that was the thing that I super craved when I was raw vegan for like half a year. I remember craving it so strongly. And when I quit veganism, I bought a ton of it. It's so delicious. It's raw. It's so tasty. It's traditional Russian food, by the way. So growing up, you always eat it. Like usually, you boil a potato, you put some dill on top, and serve it with that herring, marinated herring. I eat pure butter from Ireland and sharp cheddar cheese. Nice, 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 nice. Yeah, it's like funny how herring is so delicious. Yeah, it is. It's super good. It's funny how like I can handle all dairy so well. I don't like it. I like milk only. And I buy this super cool milk. It's actually yellowish in color, so it has a lot of beta carotene. You can tell that it's a good product. It has this thick cream on top. It's so good. And that milk is my favorite, just favorite. I crave it every day. What are you holding on to? It's my brush. I have my art stuff here. In general, I was working on a new sewing project today. And so I have my art things and sewing things. It's, if you like, I never show the other side of my camera setup, but there's a lot of stuff going on. I have this brush that I'm yet to use. It's for silk painting. I got it with the kit for silk painting. I have a piece of transparent silk that I tried to find inspiration for what to use it, which garment to use it on. And I probably will do something soon. Herring and sardines. I love sardines. I had boiled eggs with a pinch of salt. Yeah, sardines are also very delicious. I like to, by the way. Usually I do vegetarian breakfast, by the way. So it's like pescatarian. I eat fish, eggs, and dairy for breakfast, and then I don't eat anything. Maybe I'll, again, drink cacao during the day or some fruit. And then by the evening, by the nighttime, I will make the second meal, which is a pound of meat with vegetables. That's my day. It's as boring as it gets. And then whatever cravings I have, I just satisfy. So another thing, as a lifestyle influencer, I made that video that it sucks to be health influencer for this reason. Let's say I promote certain lifestyle. And that always happens with me, like all the time it happens with me. I promote certain lifestyle. I make a video in which I'm like, whoa, this is the ultimate formula for success. Avoiding this, prioritizing this, doing this every single day. The next day you're like, that thing, by the way, that I mentioned that I don't like anymore, I actually crave it. And you feel this thing like, dang, like, people perceive the content as that this is like this is the answer, right? But you yourself, behind the scenes, you kind of violate what you just said because you suddenly, like, let's say, craved something. And you go for it. And so that's weird, and it makes you an actor effectively. Or you need to constantly tell people what you're doing, what you're eating, to not feel like you're lying to someone, type of thing. Or you need to make a disclaimer that this is some average day of me eating And sometimes it changes, sometimes I do this, and you list a million things. So that is something that often happens. But yeah, usually it's like that. Vegetarian, pescatarian breakfast, and meat and vegetables for dinner, or meat and that's it sometimes. And then, oh, by the way, another staple. I when I make that chocolate milk jello, oh my god, that is super good. I love having it for busy days because when I make and edit videos, that takes my entire like couple of days. So I like to have that on hand because that's a real saver. It's a fast food. You just pull out of the fridge. Very nutritious thing. And meat, of course. Yeah, I love this so much. Remember, on the raw vegan diet, I worked a corporate job at that point. And I remember every day for lunch, I needed to make this huge salad. I worked from home. And before that, the first phase of my raw veganism happened, like it was the last 6 months of my PhD. And I would do meal prep in the morning, preparing that enormous salad with a bunch of chopping, washing. I have this enormous bowl to wash the greens. And then, yeah, you just like chop. And then eating takes so long. My favorite thing about eating animal-based is that I don't rely on those enormous meals for nutrition. I literally can just throw a block of ground meat in the pan. It cooks on its own pretty much. In 5 minutes, it's done. And if I want greens, I just rinse them up with baking soda and it's done. I don't need to chop a bunch of different varieties, peel those carrots. It's so daunting to even like remember about, like reminisce about that. So not boring, delicious meal tactics. Yummy 100%. Yeah, I mean, it hits the spot every time. And if you're bored of something with meat, for example, sometimes I just crave just meat. Sometimes I like Tabasco. I want Tabasco. Sometimes I like roast some garlic and I smash it with fork. Make sauce, so like very easy to eat. So there are so many options when you have a good centerpiece that does not rely on millions of ingredients. That's why what I eat in a day is kind of limited, yes. One day might eat this, next day might eat something else. Maybe you have one time craving for something, then it's satisfied and you no longer eat it. For me, when I quit veganism, I craved dairy so strongly, so I was eating cheese in every meal, every day for over a month, and then eventually I stopped craving it and stopped eating cheese altogether. For no other reason that I just don't crave it anymore. Didn't crave it anymore. Yeah, that's precisely that. I can cook. I can make good meals. I like eggs and sardines for breakfast and lamb legs for day. Oh, lamb legs, yeah, oh my god. I need dairy. I'm a black person and have no issue with dairy. I don't drink milk, but I love sour cream and yogurt. My body is so energetic on dairy. I'm lucky. Yeah. Yeah, dairy, like, yeah, is an interesting thing because I remember I quit dairy when I moved to the US and I started getting exposed to all of the plant-based things. I also made a video, but it's a pretty good video, pretty good analytics, like retrospective analytics, on why I became raw vegan, why I ended up in that lifestyle. There are plenty of reasons, plenty of history behind that. So with that, first thing that I did was I quit dairy because again, I never liked dairy other than milk. When I was a child, I remember one of my signature dishes was cacao. I was making it. I was always pretending because of this living space constraints. I lived in the kitchen for some part of my life. So in the mornings, on the weekends, when everybody was asleep, I would wake up early. There were cartoons on the TV. I had little TV. I would play cartoons and I would pretend that I was in the cooking show. And that was the first place where we had electric stove instead of gas stove. Because parents didn't allow me to use gas stove. But the electric stove was safer. And I had this Turkish thing for coffee, with a handle. And I would have the whole cooking show making different recipes of cacao with me commenting that. So it was my favorite thing to consume. And then, of course, like fruity yogurts were part of my diet. But then I quit dairy, People say that dairy is so addictive. It's like morphine and stuff. Like, no, it's not. You either like it or you don't like it. You either crave it because you need nutrients from that or you don't crave it. So I quit dairy and felt absolutely good. So I also like greens as a side dish. So refreshing. Yeah, precisely. And yeah, I had dill today. It just tastes like summer in the countryside. It's so good. Like it's suddenly whole world like opens, like whole sensory world opens up. I don't eat greens, next person says. I love meat and fruit. Yeah, some people don't like greens. I grew up, we always had some garden going on. Like in Russia, there was a thing, Soviet government gave people apartments, depending on how many kids and what work experience you have. You could receive an apartment. And also, people were receiving plots of land. They're called dacha. And my grandma, both of my grandmas, they had dachas. And we always had fresh strawberries, some lettuces, and some greens from the countryside. I grew up eating that. So I have a lot of impressions of that. And then my great grandma, oh my god, her garden was Garden of Eden. She had the tastiest peaches, the tastiest pears, the tastiest walnuts, and of course greens, some vegetables. She ate a lot of that. And so, yeah, greens have always been a part of the diet. And also another thing, by the way, there is a Kafkas region in Russia. If you know, there is Black Sea. Black Sea has mountains on the eastern side, and that mountain ridge is Kafkas, huge mountain massive and mountain mass, and there are a bunch of republics, and so they have a lot of. It's one of the areas of longevity. They eat red meat, they eat soft cultured cheeses, and they eat a lot of local produce, greens, and fruits. This is their diet. Very simple, very minimalistic, no processed food, of course. And they do eat greens. They actually are they eat a lot of, specifically cilantro. That's one of the staples there. So they make different sauces with cilantro. They have sauces like plum and cilantro, I think, based. So it's very interesting. Diets seem bad for health. It seems like a variety of food groups are healthier than restriction as long as we aren't eating chemical food. What do you think? I'm a recovering raw vegan too. Interesting. Hello, fellow recovering raw vegan. Which actually I don't know if I'm still recovering or already there. But food groups, yeah, I mean, I feel like people should research what works for them. Like, because I think everybody can find some food sensitivities. How it worked for me. I have migraines. I have hereditary migraines. So my health journey was inspired by me trying to figure out why I had migraines. I found several, that's what brought me to actually energy practices. That's one thing that I'm also very passionate about, by the way, because energy practices, they have been with me for so long, and I expanded so much in that area. I just never talked about it pretty much. But there are so many working tools that I've found that right now I would like to put them together and just, first of all, maybe practice them myself more diligently nowadays because there's another developmental leap. But on the other hand, I would like to start talking about them. So I found those practices, but something about my biochemistry still, despite me working with my body, trying to remove blockages, trying to fix my breathing, trying to fix my mindset, trying to fix my relationships with my everything, because part of it was my I always had also another big topic that I have been wanting to make a video about. I had a very strong conflict with femininity my entire life, and I found clear reasons for that, and I want to make a video about it. But I was trying to work on all that. Nothing worked. I went plant-based. I thought it was the healthiest thing to do. Made things almost worse. And so it improved some things, by the way, but it made certain things worse. So those migraines only faded when I went raw vegan. And I thought, okay, raw vegan diet, what it does. Raw vegan diet has a lot of diuretic things. What is migraine? It's a spasm with water retention, spasm of blood vessels. So raw vegan diet, I can still, for example, if I was to eat somewhere out, something like with high starch, some like rice and beans meal is almost guaranteed to give me a migraine. If I have that, I can then eat a big salad of dandelion and parsley. These two herbs have been my favorite for this specific reason because they cause rapid expulsion of fluids and they quench migraine. So I thought that this was one factor, that you eat diuretic diet. Second thing, you remove starches. You remove grains. Grains are inflammatory for me, apparently. That's what I found out through my raw vegan journey. And starches also cause water retention, so that is another thing that I try to avoid as much as possible. I mean, I don't try hard, it just happens like this. I just don't purposefully eat starches all the time. I have mashed potatoes sometimes, but that's it. So grains I found were pro-inflammatory for me. Plus also my joints were hurting. So I don't like talking about all of those elements, basically. So I found that grains are not for me. And then I researched the reasons for that. Made sense. When I started experimenting with different categories of foods, I noticed that I am sensitive to lectins. To some groups of food, I am extremely sensitive, like to the extent of like immediate effects. So with diets, I think that it is worth for everyone to go on elimination diet, not in like 3.5 years elimination diet like I did, but go on elimination diet and see what foods that you normally eat may be offensive, or go like use shortcut, do food sensitivity test. They're kind of costly. I think they're like $300 a piece if you do an extended one. But sometimes those food sensitivity tests, they also reveal some very obscure things. So I think that in that context, dieting, so-called dieting, when you remove food groups, is justified when you know exactly why you're doing that. When you just remove food groups without researching the quality, the history, or genetics, just because somebody said that, maybe it is not a good practice. But if you have proof that and understanding why it makes sense, and you are not malnourished, then it is probably justified. But again, I don't avoid it. Like if someone offers me a meal of grains, I'm not gonna run away like screaming at them, "Are you idiot? You're offering me grains?" No, I'll have it. But I will again observe how my body responds to them, and I will see. Okay, if it responded well, I'm like, okay, once in a while it's okay. If it responded poorly, then I will be like, okay, then just confirming that I'm on the right path. So I feel like, okay, so I have a lot of stuff here. Dairy seems healthy to me after I added back in. I like goat milk the best, but cow milk is okay for all. Yeah. I started off with goat or sheep yogurt. I have video on what I ate today, the first one. It was so delicious. But now again, I'm on pause. I'm more into milk right now. Yeah, over cutting out the chemical isolates, just eating whole foods goes such a long way. That sounds amazing. Does most of Russia have access to fresh homegrown food? The culture changes rapidly. And actually, there was this illusion, particularly of mine, when I thought that America, America has this, like, Russia have poor food quality. You travel overseas nowadays, is I think everywhere. Every place is plagued by the food industry, synthetic food industry. So you need to be very mindful what you buy, because fortunately there are options. The markets of healthy foods, they are growing. The markets of healthy foods, they're becoming more and more diverse. You can always claim, you can demand as a customer, you can always claim something and you will likely have it. It exists, but you cannot go to some arbitrary country where you think the food is good, go to just any supermarket and find good food automatically. Unless it's a very agricultural country where the poor agricultural country where in principle they don't have any imports or anything like that. In Russia, nowadays, I don't know, I haven't been there for so long. Like, my memories about Russia, all the information about Russia that I delivered, it is relevant, the relevance is 2016. I moved to the US in early 2016, so I'm pretty retrograde when it comes to Russia and how it works right now. I feel like if you're eating whole foods, especially what you'd find in nature, then you will naturally eat what is good for you. Yeah. Your body will gravitate towards it. Energy practices, yes. Okay, I'm writing it down that I have a vote. I have very important things because I'll briefly talk about. Let's read the chat and I'll comment on that. I also had greens directly from the garden as a child. I had fresh basil as a snack, but also berries. Yeah, berries, oh my god. You know what I'm lacking in the US? Gooseberries. Gooseberries are so good. Very thorny bush, and gooseberries, they grow among those thorns. I have very funny videos somewhere in family archives where there were mosquitoes. I wanted to pick gooseberries. There were a ton of mosquitoes. It was kind of colder, so I'm in the hoodie with hood tied around my face, and I was in my. I have alter ego that is very goofy, and so I'm in that alter ego standing with the bowl of gooseberries, and so yeah, it was a very cool memory, but I miss it so much. Berries from the bush are so delicious. Same here in regards to the conflict of femininity. Would love to see a video on that. Okay, you got it. That's actually one of the reasons that conflict with femininity right now, in retrospect, it makes me so happy that I waited to have a child, because I think it would be a disaster if I had a child back, accidental. Let's say something would happen, not that I was planning or anything. If I somehow had a child back when I was actively in that trauma without even being aware of that trauma, oh my god, it would be a disaster. That's why, this conflict with femininity has been one of the big projects in my private life for several years. And that's the thing. I didn't know how the migraine had water retention. I tend to get them a lot my entire life. Yeah, no, I mean, my migraine is rarely one thing. It's rarely something one. Usually it is that you stress and then you eat something inappropriate. So you combine the factors, you create the spasm because of the tension. And then because of some food, you also exacerbate it with water retention. Because you notice sometimes you do something that would sometimes trigger migraine, but it doesn't trigger migraine. Sometimes it does, because likely it's two factors. For example, you slept crooked and then during the day you were stressed, and that triggers them. Or hormones and stress, hormones and food, slept poorly and food, slept poorly and stress and stuff like that. Then, for me, I eat plenty of nightshades, potatoes, hot peppers, tomato, and garlic. I thrive on nightshades after my elimination diet. Interestingly, by the way, I love tomatoes on their own. Raw tomatoes. I don't like anymore for some reason tomato sauce as much, and I don't like mixing tomatoes with anything. On their own, I just pop them like berries. They're so good. There is a brand in the US at Whole Foods that they're like mini cherry tomatoes on the vine. Oh my god, they're so delicious. Thanks so much for talking about this. So helpful to hear this. I will do more research on the sensitivities I could have with food. Wow, well said. Common sense with dieting. Thank you. I thrive on meat, nightshade, and dairy. Garbage like bread, legumes, rice, and dark greens is killing me. Dark greens? First thing that came to my mind is green bell peppers. That is something I would need. Dark greens, I love dandelions. That's my favorite kind of green. The fact that they're actually wild plant. Thing was, in 2023, I traveled to Montenegro. And at the farmer's market, they have freshly picked wild dandelions, arugula, wild asparagus that they harvested at the riverbank. So they just go in the wild and harvest it. So there are legit wild plants and nettle greens. I made salad out of those things. Oh my god, it's so good. If I had access to some clean meadow that I know doesn't have any like car exhaust, pesticides, whatnot, dog shit, I would definitely eat that stuff. So if I get plot of land somewhere in the climate that is conducive of growing those plants naturally in the wild specifically, I would go for it. Because, I remember listening to Marcus Rothkrantz and it made a ton of sense. This is something that I really appreciate about his philosophy, that he was saying that the lettuce that you're seeing at the store contains approximately nothing. Like there's like iceberg lettuce, it's just water. It's water with shape. A lot of the lettuces, they are completely pointless. And when you think about the wild plants, this is what contains vitamins, this is what contains minerals. And that's true because wild plants, they have much deeper roots. So they are capable of pulling minerals not from this top layer where cultured plants suck up that trinity of minerals that are put there by chemical industry, but they're actually getting nutrients from deep in the ground. So those wild grasses, wild plants, wild dandelions, nettles. Nettles are a good source of silica. That's on raw vegan diet. That's what I was looking for. Those plants, they're much more potent. So if you eat greens, it makes sense to eat greens with nutrition. And then also dandelions are low in oxalates simultaneously. So that's a win-win. I think it's one of those humble plants, plus also dandelions, they grow everywhere. It's such a thing. I don't know, I'm almost emotionally attached to the concept of dandelion eating because I respect that plant so much. And again, it contributed so much into my well-being at some point. So that's my philosophy with greens. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Kevin, if you are really Kevin or if it's your nickname. But I really appreciate your kind words. I don't eat berries. It's a waste of money and my time. Okay, if you go into the forest and you see a raspberry bush with super ripe raspberries, are you going to skip? I wouldn't. Do you still distill your water? I saw your video 3 years ago. Yeah, I do still distill my water. It's so the thing the thing is with distillation, when I am super rich, my dream is to have a tank of Fiji water. Out of waters that exist, the tastiest water on the planet is Fiji. I love it so much. But I distill at home because when you own a distiller, you actually get to notice different sediment every time you distill. Sometimes, I lived in different cities with my distiller, and the difference is stark. You sometimes have some brown residue all of a sudden. Sometimes it's just white powder. Sometimes there is 10 times more of that sediment. I have no idea what is happening inside of the city water lines. Because, again, when you get to monitor what precipitates, you start being very aware of that. I probably will skip on that. I have test strips. Usually water where I lived was good overall. I tested impurities. If you watch that video on distillation, the impurity concentration is low. But then I don't know, does my local government add me lithium in my water? Does my local government add this and that? I don't want anyone to decide what's in my water. And then I don't rely on water for minerals. I get plenty of minerals from other things. As raw vegan, I was getting a ton of minerals with greens and seaweed. Right now, I'm getting a ton of minerals from greens and dairy and fish. and like bones and stuff like that. So water is like the last thing you would opt for minerals. The concerns with distilled water is that it's acidic. pH is 5.4. So it's the same acidity as green tea maybe or black tea. But is it a concern? I don't know. Right now I drink a lot of tea, like mint tea or green tea in the morning. If you love berries, I will give it to you. It would be the best food to date and give it all to you. I can eat those tomato on the vine like apples. Those are called organic vines in Florida. So good. That makes sense with the depth of plant roots. Never heard that before. But yeah, wild forage is much more nutrition dense. Dandelion is good for iguanas. I bet. Dandelion breaks up compacted soil. Maybe that's why it also breaks up compacted tissues in our cells. You would love to drink New Zealand water in the mountains. It comes from the glaciers. Is it right how to pronounce them? No. And it has the minerals. It's sad we don't have access to natural water these days. Nothing tastes better. Minerals in water are organic anyway. Don't worry about the acidity of distilled water. Lemonade is also acidic, but when it enters the body, it actually lowers your pH. Inorganic acid. Yeah, inorganic. Yeah, and I know that. I mean, yeah, minerals. If we talk about the water that, for example, carries like from the mountains first year of mineralization, it gets those ions. Then it also carries some organics. Then it also bubbles up. It becomes very infused with hydrogen. Then it is one kind of water. When we talk about water from the faucet, have you ever seen the cross-sectional cut of the water line? They look gross. They look slimy. They put chlorine, I guess, to remove that slime. Because I remember I worked in the lab and we had some thermal equipment that needed to be cooled down. And they had those like pumps, they had them cooled down with the water. And those things would always get clogged with growth, with organic growth. So they had to clean them all the time. And so when you look at the cross-section of the water pipes, I mean, there is mineral sedimentation and then organics. It's gross. I don't know, like literally what is coming out of the faucet. I can only test so much with the strips. I have strips. They have, I think, 12 maybe squares, like pads where you drip the water and they show all the concentrations. But oh my god, New Zealand doesn't have good lifespan. I would never listen to a New Zealand person about health. No offense. Oh my god. Okay, guys, you'll figure it out. New Zealand has the healthiest looking old people I've ever seen. They do multi-day hiking with large backpacks even when they're in their 80s. Okay. Life expectancy in New Zealand is 83 in 10 years, 0.1 years, point proven. Okay. Life expectancy is not the only thing that we need to be looking at, guys. Life quality is what matters. And then another thing is, if you look at what the average person does, right? So, like, average lifespan is largely dependent on the medical system. But the lifespan that it will be accessible to a person who is more like aware of their health will likely be higher. Because if a person respects themselves and loves their life to the extent that they're going to pursue good living, then they will have some rather outstanding or increased lifespan. Because they just care. Wherever energy flows, it grows, right? So, I don't like the metric of average lifespan that much, but there are certain things that are interesting to analyze regardless. Like when I was looking at omega-3s, I didn't show that map in the video, but I encourage everyone to show. There is such thing as fatty acid coefficient, and there is a thing of life expectancy. What we see is that areas which consume a lot of seafood, they tend to have higher life expectancy. That correlates with higher omega-3 coefficient. And then another thing is, I remember looking at countries that consume the most meat. The most meat is consumed in Spain, Japan, Italy, US, and France. If we look at the distribution of animal products that's being consumed, the only difference, like quality aside, the only difference between the animal product profiles in the US and in the countries that have much bigger life expectancy combined with much higher life quality, like with active longevity, was the shift towards seafood. So everybody eats pork, like Spain eats a ton of pork, Japan eats a ton of pork, Italy eats a ton of pork. They eat a ton of pork, but they eat fish. The US, instead of fish, eats more chicken. So they do omega-6 shift, and with all the issues that follow. That's the major difference. That's the trend that I noticed. Okay, there is an argument about New Zealand. The hospital and medical complex makes people live longer, but not necessarily with good quality of life. Yeah, it's like maintenance. Mobility is so important for old age. Yeah, absolutely. Well, not true. I have a better quality of life in St. Lucia or Japan than in New Zealand. What about New Zealand that you hate so much? Maybe that's because seafood is rich in minerals. Hi, and the vegans always compare it to Japan, forgetting they eat a lot of meat and fish. Yeah, actually, if you look at the meat consumption, it will be high, but what they will say is that Japanese used to eat plant-based, and that's where they produce the most longevity. And then now Japanese eat a lot of, it's always combined, processed food and meat. That is an arguable thing because when Japanese were eating a plant-based, they also had very poor development of teeth, jaws, bones. If you look at Japanese traditional fashion, crooked teeth and inverted feet are the trend, because inverted feet to develop because there are deformities in the bone during the development of the skeleton. So it's a very strange thing that, and plus also I watched some movies. There's very pretty stylish movie. It's called Tokyo Fiancé. I watched it when I attended French language festival back in the day, and that movie was about Belgian girl who went to Japan. It was her dream to go to Japan, and they had a lot of beautiful footage there. And I remember those like shootings in the fish markets. It was so cool. They had so much freshest seafood and stuff there. And then also I watched a lady, I think she's Russian, and she moved to Japan and she does vlogging there, vlogging. Also, a ton of animal products. No, come on. It's like you just need to travel there if you don't trust. If you want to form like good opinion, the best way to do that is to travel. Because that's when you see, and plus also travel not into tourist traps, but to go see where the locals live and what they do there. New Zealand. Oysters are an ancient food supposedly and the most mineral rich. New Zealand is hub to medication. Oh, wow, I didn't know that about Japanese deformities. They eat lots of raw food too, like raw fish and raw red meat. Yeah, they do. They do. Most cultures do. Most cultural cuisines have that. I once ate a live small fish in the Caribbean. Ate them alive. Delicious. Did they do this, flopping in your mouth, or did you decapitate it first? Like, what was your experience like? I'm like, I'm probably not so keen on eating live food, but I would probably decapitate it first. Scaling too. I mean, how did you eat it with scales on? Oh, hello, Casclair. My fingernails don't grow at all if I don't drink milk. If I drink bone broth, have salmon, beef, etc. When I was vegan, they didn't grow either. Calcium supplements don't work, only milk. Thoughts? Yes, of course. I mean, With that, with dairy specifically, what is the role of calcium? And you need a lot of minerals for hair and nails. That's an interesting thing that they refuse to grow completely without, because I mean it's mostly protein. They need minerals for strength, but I mean I myself now growing nails unprecedentedly on my animal-based diet, but calcium supplements are trash because they don't get located where you want them to be located. Actually, it's a known fact that calcium supplements are a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And vegans, they should not be taking calcium supplements. Should not be. Even if it's calcium citrate or anything like that, like more organic form of calcium. Because it's dangerous. It needs to come strictly with K2 and vitamin D, which milk is a perfect food for that. Nah, I grabbed them in the bucket and crunched those fish alive. They were the size of French fries. Delicious. I mean, those little fish, yeah, they actually are pretty. I remember we also were fishing for those little fish, but we would roast them in fire. It was very delicious. You eat them whole at that point because fire decomposes their bones. Milk has cholesterol K2D, which all help with calcium. Yeah. Thank you. I have decided I absolutely must drink milk. Oh, thanks. Yeah, cofactors might play a role. Let me see real quick. I'll just do a little quick Google. Do you need calcium for nails? AI tells us. That's not what I like to do, but let's read. Let's read what AI has to say. Yes, calcium is important for nail health. Calcium deficiency can cause nails to become brittle, dry, and weak. Calcium is a key component in nail structure and helps nails grow and stay healthy. Signs of calcium deficiency in nails: they become brittle, dry, or weak. Nails break easily. Nails grow slowly. And AI also suggests us that to get more calcium in your diet, you need to eat dairy like milk, yogurt, and cheese. Eat nuts to flush out calcium, I guess. Eat leafy greens to flush out more calcium. Eat fish like sardines. That makes sense because sardines in particular, they have bone inside that you also can assimilate really well. But yeah, calcium supplements, a doctor can advise you on whether a calcium supplement is right for you, and they can interact with certain medications. That's what AI told us. Quick search. But I guess, yeah, assimilation of calcium is a big topic because not all you cannot like just munch on chalk and get calcium. No, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. I remember though, I think my mom was, when she was pregnant for me, I think she was craving chalk so bad. I don't remember what it was. And since it was just after Soviet Union fell apart, 1994 is where Russia was in like rough spot. I remember to substitute calcium supplements, she tried grinding eggshells and eating them instead of the normal supplements, because there was nothing available like that. I don't know why she didn't opt for dairy. Maybe it was not available either. But yeah, that was her life hack. She couldn't do that though for a while. Aha, to flush out calcium. Yes, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I suppose dairy has been consumed since the beginning of civilization, thousands of years. Not sure why it's so badly demonized today. Maybe because of the extreme pasteurization. I know people who still grind eggshells. I'd rather drink the milk. I think you're right, Aubrey, because with food industrialization, the quality of food degraded significantly. The only reason pasteurization exists is a practice now. Yes? That's the thing. You read the papers, red meat and processed meat are always lumped together. Processed meat is unambiguously bad. That's kind of what's decided. Funny thing is that processed meat is often bad even if it's like uncured meat. Another thing, by the way, to be mindful of, because I was in that trap, I remember I was like, okay, I will go buy this super duper green label lunch meat, for example, or ham, that says uncured ham. I bought it and I'm like, wow, so good to be eating processed meat without eating kind of processed cured meat. Little did I know that the fact that they add cultured celery salt equates it to the processed meat, to cured meat. Because celery contains the nitrates naturally. It's just naturally plant-derived nitrates. So I stopped eating all processed meat afterwards. Again, if anyone offers me a very good sandwich that they made for me with love with processed meat, I won't refuse, but purposefully buying that, no. And yeah, so that, and then on the food quality, yeah, it does change things significantly. It does. Because when I buy, for example, I get so much pleasure from buying the milk that I buy because I see that it looks natural. It looks like a natural product. I buy, there is a brand, Alexander's or something, green like cursive. It's A2A2 dairy, and they sell yogurt with cream on top and super good sour cream. So that dairy you open, it looks natural. It has that cream. It has the like the general phase of like yogurt or whatever it is, whatever dairy it is. They have this what's it called? It's like liquid that basically you see all of this variability of ingredients. It just looks right. The milk has this color. It has all those phases. It looks good. And sometimes, for example, I run out of some ingredient, I go to the convenience store and I pick up whatever milk they have there. It's like titanium dioxide. It's not appetizing. When you know how natural foods look and feel, when you get something that is generic brand, it just sometimes even doesn't look like food. So it is a problem of literally overall declined quality of food in general, like if we look in the masses, if we look at the large cross section. But at the same time, again, we have the, unfortunately, it's a privilege nowadays to access natural foods, but it exists at least. I need full-fat dairy like cheddar cheese, sour cream, and whole milk. Dairy fat is so pleasant, yeah. Yes, it's so weird that the bone broth and all the eggs and meat and even oysters I was eating did nothing for my nails. Very interesting. Pasteurized milk does grow my nails very fast. That, I remember, back in the day, I was listening to a lady. She was not vegan. It was before I went vegan. It was while I was trying to hack my health. I was trying to fix my migraines. Also had painful periods and stuff. So I was listening to all of those nutritionists. She looked so gorgeous. She was in her early 50s. She looked so youthful, so radiant. And she was mentioning that dairy is literally the best source of calcium. And when I was reading, by the way, I think sheep and goat dairy are the best in terms of bioavailability of calcium of all foods. So that is something, bioavailability also changes from source to source. So she said that the best source of calcium. She was also she was also focusing on the issues of menopausal women. She was mentioning that yeah, dairy is literally the best you can do. Unambiguously the best. Also, the ice cream people eat not even real. All you need is real milk, salt, and ice for real ice cream. No, something like that. I would add honey though. Alexander Family Farms kefir. Yes, Alexander Family. Yes, that one. That is for sour cream of that brand is just the best. But I buy milk from Kelowna brand, I think. The fat on the dairy it's important for nutrition, but mostly low-fat or skim milk is salt. Precisely. Precisely. I even read. Sometimes I look for recipes for inspiration. Like for example, oh my god, what I made yesterday. Last night I had this terrible craving for something so weird. I bought yogurt because I wanted to make tzatziki. So I had a jar of yogurt from that Alexander Family Farms. I had some left over and I wanted to make apple cinnamon yogurt. I saw there's a brand that sells yogurts in glass jars. It's like French styled. And they have the flavor with apple and cinnamon, but it's stuffed with nonsense. It has some flavors, a bunch of sugar. I was like, I'll just make it myself. I'll try it. So I made apples, a little bit of walnuts, and honey and cinnamon. I cooked them a little bit, and then when they cooled down, I added them to yogurt. Oh my god, it was so delicious. But why I mentioned that is that I read some recipes. I wanted to see like different combinations for yogurts, and in the recipes they say pick low fat or no fat yogurt. I'm like, why? Why the hell would I pick no fat yogurt? Why? Why are we promoting that? Like, probably the healthiest thing in the dairy is fat because it carries all the vitamins and stuff. Yes, quality is more important than quantity. That's actually, yeah, the culture of, culture of consumption. It translates so much into food because I remember there was a period of time when I was like looking at Zillows of like places, houses. And sometimes you look at like low price tag houses and they are stuffed with belongings. Like it's a tiny room, like small room, stuffed with so much garbage. And it was the super repeated thing. You see this like decadent place with a bunch of memorabilia, some plastic garbage, some cloths, some synthetics and stuff like that. And you're like, why would you buy all that? Could you just invest in something good instead? Like, replace all of those 30 objects that are completely mismatched, that are made of plastic, that are made of like literal shit that you just will throw away. They'll go to landfill. Can you just replace them with 3 objects of quality? It will open up so much freedom for you, for your visual space. Your space will be so clean. There will be air. You will have so much breathing room, so much inspiration. And that translates this consumerism culture that I think stems somewhere deeply, somewhere from the depth of our psychology. That translates into food. And I actually want to make a video about that because I sometimes go to the store and they would have enormous trays of some synthetic sweets or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, so people will buy that synthetic stuff, that enormous box of those cupcakes or something, with colors that you won't find in nature ever, with some sprinkles and stuff. Those cupcakes will be sitting on the shelf, and instead of locating that money to something healthy, people will be obliged to eat all that stuff because they bought so much of it because it was a great deal. But this great deal, on the long run, steals so much resource from the body. It's not even that it's unhealthy, like, and you could eat healthier. No, it's just when you think about it from the perspective that the damage that this food does takes much more resource to fix it, but you still spend money to buy that destroys, instead of locating money to buying the high quality food, and then you will be saying that you cannot afford high quality food, when in reality you can afford high quality food if you substitute it. Plus also you'll be much less hungry if you buy this full fat, nutrient rich food. You're not going to crave crap when your body receives all minerals, vitamins. You don't need all that. You just don't feel the impulse to go for it. Because cravings, they always arise. You're craving sweets. You're craving some obscure foods. If you crave them consistently, it means that you have some nutrient deficiencies. Because you can have healthy appetite if you eat some certain like foods consistently that give you nutrition. You don't have like those violent cravings. You will have hints from your body, and it will be seeking like some natural foods that you will be picking from. But if it's some wild craving, well, then you should look into minerals likely. You should look into some micronutrients that you might be missing. And so when I see those like super family packs. It's also like targeted towards families. That makes like, nothing destroys a human than standard American family. Sometimes I like to say it in certain observations, because all of this marketing, it's geared towards families that raise children, that drive the economy, that determine the whole profile of our world. And so when you see that, those enormities of crappy items, you want to just shake people somehow and be like, as a customer, demand, vote with your dollar to demand let's all demand high quality foods. Because in particular US, for example, has so much land that could be used for something good. Like, I traveled through Kansas. I traveled through Nebraska before. I know what I'm talking about. There is so much stuff that you can put that would be prolific, that would be giving people health. Something I'm passionate about, because I see those trends that you sometimes go for this seemingly economical deal because in the moment you want sweets. But you oblige yourself to consume all that in the course of a week because you don't want to throw away food. But yeah, you signed up for having to consume all that in enormous amounts. Homemade ice cream is the best, yes. By the way, do you need ice cream maker for that? Because I tried freezing custard before and it turned more into like ice block. I made custard with egg yolks, honey, milk, and chocolate, molten chocolate. And it was really difficult to dig into, so it wasn't creamy. Even though I used pretty like high-fat milk. Low-fat milk and skim milk is basically water and white paint and this is juncture. Yeah, I'm actually they should label titanium dioxide. In the US, it's legal to use tiox. Actually, a lot of vegan foods, I remember, a lot of vegan junk foods contain tiox in them. In the US, it's not gonna be. And in Europe, it's banned at this point. Thanks for the chat. I hope you have a nice day. I'm going offline now to do some movement practices. Whoa, cool. You motivated me. I've been procrastinating too much. Super cool. Thank you. Homemade ice cream is on the different plane of existence than the fake ice cream you get from the store with 2,000 ingredients. By the way, no, we have ice cream for bears. It's sold in Sprouts only. It's super delicious. Yummy, I actually like to use high-fat Greek yogurt in the place of mayonnaise with some pure honey. Every time I eat a cupcake or donut, I can feel diabetes. Yep. Actually, when you don't eat processed sugar and don't refined sugar, and then you eat it, it's like, how do people do this all the time? How did I do this every day? It's just so wrong. And it literally, people sometimes think that, oh, how will I quit sugar? I always crave it. It takes 2 weeks to get rid of sugar craving. You just need to literally, what you do, you eat fruits and you restore mineral balance. All you need is literally monitor your minerals, restore minerals, and eat fruits. And eat fat, like full fat foods for calories. And sugar craving will be gone. It's very easy. I think there are other cravings that are harder probably to locate what they come from. I don't know, I actually work with some people working on the cravings issue, and I don't know. There is a huge component because, people more or less, like, let's say baseline healthy diet, some like arbitrary healthy diet, even if we think about in the paradigm of like Mediterranean diet that is somehow confused with plant-based, if we think in this paradigm, everybody knows what to eat. Everybody will know, let's look at that context, right? Everybody will know that refined grains we need to replace with whole grains. We need to eat a salad. We need to use olive oil. We need to use some organic produce. We need to eat fresh fruits. We need to eat some, let's say, Greek yogurt, fermented dairy. to care for probiotics. And let's say we need to eat some like fish. People will probably go for lean meat. That diet will already bring very good health results. But, and everybody knows about this diet. Everybody can do this because they know that how to eat. It's such a mainstream knowledge. Some arbitrary healthy choices. Avoid processed foods, substitute them for something good. But there's so many psychological ties to food. And moreover, not to food, but to certain habits associated with foods and with outcomes from that food. Because there's so many secondary benefits and so much like deception in the brain from that 5 minutes of instant gratification of you feeling that food in your mouth. And people, I guess, are so hungry for some profound pleasures, profound satisfaction in life, that they cannot really appreciate that. So until this like problem becomes too unbalanced, like, and they cannot enjoy their life in the moment because of the ailments that food caused them to have, that's when they start thinking what to do. But even then, on the verge of some super strong health outcomes, people still fail to eat healthily. For some reason, it's super difficult psychologically. And I don't know what differentiates people who are capable of healthily following, without like going crazy within some ED field, following some health relationships with food. What differentiates them from people who are slipping every time? Part of it, I think, is culture of eating. Because in the US, for example, in many countries nowadays, culture of eating dissipated. There are some places on earth where food culture is still very strong because people intentionally preserved it. In the areas where there's no culture of eating, it's hard to grab onto something, to see how others are doing that, to combine it with some social context. Maybe that's what makes it hard. So you literally are alone with that food, usually, with that health eating practice. You don't have anyone supporting it. Environment always bombards you with temptations, showing you that what is normal is the opposite of healthy eating. Maybe that's the reason, I don't know. But then again, there are those health enthusiasts everywhere in the world despite that. I don't know how to hack the psychology for some arbitrary human, like, who would want to accomplish that. Facts. Yeah, they have ninja ice cream machines now. You see, I don't want to buy any more equipment. I scaled down on equipment after veganism. And I don't know. I was thinking about buying ice cream machine. My parents had one. And I also wanted to buy yogurt making machine. But it's like machine. As a result, there is like no counter space. You have just a lot of visual noise. But yeah, I would get one if I had space. I don't think most humans actually had real ice cream ever. You know what? By the way, in earlier Russian years after Soviet, there was still very good ice cream, because actually in the Soviet there was such thing that government regulated compositions of every single food. You buy condensed milk, there is a government guideline what must be there, what quality of milk should be there, how much of each ingredient should be there. And if you see that it's government verified, then you know precisely that you get consistently certain product. I actually have taste memory from when I was 3 years old. I had an ice cream. It was chocolate glazed ice cream that was called Polar Bear. And it was the tastiest ice cream on the planet. It was so delicious. And then, yeah, that ice cream for berries was actually pretty good too. Very delicious. My biggest weakness is potato chips and french fries. I make my own potato meals now. I realized I love potatoes, not fries and potato chips. Yeah, sometimes it also, finding, because the thing is that you can only want what you know. Like you can explicitly want only what you know. If you are not exposed to certain things, you will not know to separate. For example, you only ate french fries your entire life. You never ate baked potato. So you will know to crave potato only in the form of french fry. And that also happens with a bunch of other things. Like, I remember on Raw Vegan, when I was Raw Vegan influencer, I talked about it a lot as well, that your body doesn't know how to get, let's say, what nutrient would it be? There was, I guess, a lot of the mood was, for example, you are accustomed to getting certain nutrients from meat, animal products, but you never ate certain plant food. So you will be craving certain animal food as opposed to plant food, because if you are deficient, if you become deficient in certain nutrient type of thing. And so, yeah, that's why it's actually one of the things I'm passionate about, is introducing as many natural foods to children's taste palette, because I don't know how children perceive food, if they perceive them through nutrients or if they have this untainted perception of food. I don't know. I need to read about it if there are any studies or anything. Because if children were never exposed to certain things, their taste palette will be shaped to certain limitations. And when children grow up on processed foods, it's a total disaster, because make them eat something natural. It will take a huge effort of willpower to teach them to do that. For example, I know that a lot of people struggle with eating liver, for example. I crave liver. I go ravenous for it because, I grew up eating it. Like on an average day, we had frozen crepes stuffed with liver, and there's like liver and carrot, I think grated carrot. So that was a casual meal for me growing up. Be like a liver stroganoff and stuff. So my body knows when I was coming out of veganism. I remember after 1 week, I developed super craving for liver. Even I hadn't had it for like 8 years by then. And so my brain was like, liver. I know where to harvest nutrients we need. And then a person who never had liver in their life, they will never know how to crave it. Heart too, by the way. I had hearts. I made a post in my community page for Thanksgiving. Again, I don't sympathize with the holiday of Thanksgiving, but happened to be my grocery shopping day, Thanksgiving. So I went to the grocery store, and they had a lot of like turkey related things. And then I see they have organic turkey gizzards, hearts, and livers. And I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna get this one. Fresh, like they look very good, very fresh. Since then, I've been going crazy for hearts. Hard to find them, but I will. I want hearts so strongly. I never knew I would crave a heart. Something in it, and it's so good. Very important point, thank you. Yep, I crave liver, heart, and kidneys, yes. Love liver and onions. I don't eat onions, so I remove the onions, and my liver is so delicious. Yeah, it is. It is. I still need to make pate because it's so good. I also, by the way, pate was something I craved my entire childhood. It was my favorite food. People need to learn how to cook. I never had heart, but some people make liver and kidney so scrumptious. Find goat or sheep heart. It's the best. By the way, sheep heart, does it taste like lamb? Because, I don't know, I like lamb. I don't know if I'm ready for heart with the flavor of lamb. Would be interesting. Heart is so, it's so weird because it tastes more like muscle meat, but there's something about it that's so satisfying. Again, maybe you won't feel this way, but for me it was something that gave me a kick. I literally, for several weeks afterwards, I was dreaming of, imagine making shish kebab of hearts with maybe like onion between them or something. Doesn't even need anything. And if you barbecue them, oh my god. No, it's totally different flavor with the hearts. Okay, sounds good then. Goat and lamb is my favorite red meat. Fish is my favorite meat of all. Goat I've never tried. Lamb I really appreciate. I really love lamb. And for New Year's I made lamb. It was a leg of lamb, I think. And I just put it in the Dutch oven with garlic cloves, with Italian herbs, a little bit of salt. And I forgot about it in the oven for like a couple of hours. Oh my god, it was the best. But another way to cook lamb, is one other my favorite recipe, is that I put in Pyrex, whatever lamb cuts you can find, put them in Pyrex, and I just put whole tomatoes with it, and garlic. And then you bake it. When it comes out, you pop those tomatoes, those juices with garlic, you mash the garlic. With that tomato juice, it's so delicious with lamb. It's the best as well. I don't even use any seasonings. I put black pepper, corns sometimes, not necessary at all. That is so delicious. And literally zero participation. To make that meal, you need to wash tomatoes, peel several cloves of garlic, and throw everything in the dish. This is all. This is it for preparation. I like simple recipes because they're usually the most rewarding, in my opinion. So, yeah. Simple is far better than over-seasoning. Over-seasoning, and also when the more ingredients you add, the more chemistry happens and stuff like that. Easier to mess up. In general, again, back to high-quality foods. When you have high-quality foods, you taste the flavor. What inspired me too, by the way, I subscribe to several chefs that work in that graduated from French schools and stuff. What they make is literally the simplest things of high quality ingredients. This is the secret. So you don't need, I just need pure butter and salt to cook. Yeah. And when you look at those recipes, they don't have this, unless it's some molecular cuisine. There's literally just high quality things. They don't go and measure something in this microscopic thing, the timing, those milliseconds. It's not like that. It's when you paint a painting. I remember I had experience that I really want to embrace again. As a painter, you know how quality matters because seemingly you think that what difference will the paint make? There's huge difference. And when you go, for example, from acrylic paint to oil paint, that's a totally different world. It's a totally different world of effects, sensations, control, and the depth of the result, the profoundness of the result is much higher than that when you're using synthetic paint, for example, with its properties. Because oil paint, it won't peel off those masks that you apply to your face and then you peel off. That's what acrylic will do to from the canvas. Oil paint will not do that. It has a very strong affinity to the canvas. The smells, everything about it is just so good. You can paint the same thing, but with oil, it will be a totally elevated experience, and something about it will be, as a result, will be so good. Watercolors too. You can buy some super cheap watercolors for kids, like for example. The pigment will be whited down. There will be a lot of things that you will notice. But then when you go up in price, when you go up in quality, you again find so much artistic satisfaction in the process, in the result, that it makes it totally worth it to invest in very good ingredients, invest in very good tools, and everything. Same with food. I super relate to the philosophy of seeking the best quality and simplifying the processes, simplifying the preparation, to just let the quality shine through. That's the biggest mastery, to not overdo when you're dealing with some masterpiece as is. So that's what I learned from watching all the chefs out there. Probably will be wrapping up soon because it's getting dark, and actually ordered the ring lamps because when I was moving, I had to leave my huge, enormous floodlight behind. So now I'm stuck with the daylight, pretty much, because yellow lights, I don't like how they look on camera. I prefer daylight, or like white light and then floodlight, like reflected diffuse light for videos. But yeah, they will arrive soon, and then we'll be able to talk later in the evening. So that's how it's gonna be soon. But then yeah, to just sum up the moods, yeah, I am discovering another thing that I wanted to touch up on. The ex-vegan study. People are asking me about it, and it is coming. And I acknowledged how big of a job it is, because I got 25 people to invest a ton of effort into this work. And I realized that it must become a super profound work. So I want to spin it in a way that it will be more of a documentary than just another video. So it's not like, I'm maturing to actually approach this work. I developed the code that parses the data, so I have the data table ready. And yeah, I'm finishing up certain videos that were on my to-do list because they bug me, kind of. And I want to see some videos that I could do in the meantime, such that my channel stays active while I work on that video. But yeah, it will be a very nice, I think, concluding point for my work on ex-veganism, because we're completing vegan deficiencies series. Now we have conjugated linoleic acid, then we have B6 vitamin and minerals, and summary on vegan deficiencies will be the video on, we will see the most vulnerable organs and systems in the body that are most susceptible to typical vegan deficiencies. So that will be the summary video on vegan deficiencies. And then on the whole ex-vegan thing, on the whole the ditching veganism basically thing, there will be ex-vegan documentary. And that will sum up this whole me turning from vegan to non-vegan thing. And I will be feeling more free to actually start going for something that I'm excited about, in terms of something that's not like against something, but pro something. And I look forward to that. And that's actually where my energy is, where I am most bubbly. Because even though this is all very fascinating stuff, to me personally, it feels like it's like the analogy would be, there is like Christianity and Satanism. Satanism came because they were upset of Christianity. So Satanism only exists because Christianity exists, type of thing. Should you remove Christianity, there will be no Satanism, because Satanism will lose its point, kind of, largely, some of its branches. So this is the analogy. And so with me, with my work, yeah, I think that I won't be able to sit and dwell on veganism forever. Because I'm already, like, after I already did however many videos I did, on 6 videos on vegan deficiencies, to me it's already like the sealed concept. I'm not interested in veganism, and it's like something that I moved on from, type of thing. So it's already crystal clear. There is like no further evidence needed. Like, I understood that it was wrong, and why, precisely why. I just want to complete it because there will be certain very curious things for people to observe about themselves. For example, some people will be like, oh, this is these symptoms, I don't know why. Because they're not diagnosable. You cannot diagnose a lot of things. So making videos on vegan deficiencies may help people understand what was happening with them and why. And those things, yeah, I mean, that's enough evidence to say that it's not the path. For me, at least, and I think for many people as well. And so that will be the point where we will be moving on. So probably in several months, yeah, we will be done with that, and we'll be doing some fun stuff. Because I have some ideas. I'm looking here. I have them on the wall. I have two. They want to put the they want to unalive on their unhealthy vegan diet. Yeah, that's yeah, that's the problem. I mean, if that comes to that point, then it will be an issue to solve. Right now, there is no such problem to solve. I think the main problem, the main problem that everybody faces, no matter what they do, is literally corporate acquisition of monopolization of industries that people rely on for survival. That's the thing. That's the problem that concerns everybody, regardless of what they eat. Because people who sell veganism, they all meat industry, I think. That bad meat industry, so to speak. So it is mostly the fight between small businesses, enthusiasts, people who produce quality, artisanal products, people who serve the community, and corporations, industrial world, monopolies, and people who try to rely on that. So I think this is the real division. It's not the division between vegans, non-vegans, keto people, whatever. I see the sun is setting, lol, yeah. I'm being lit up by my laptop. But yeah, it's pretty beautiful. But yeah, that's where the problem is. And yeah, just with any goods, you need to make a conscious choice to invest in certain things for quality. It's easier to see your face when you look at the laptop, yeah. What do you eat, Daniel? We actually discussed it already. But for you, I will say that I eat, for breakfast, I eat either or and. Dairy, eggs, and fish, combination of those. For lunch, I eat some fruits, so basically snack usually for lunch. For dinner, I eat salad and meat. Yep, it's a fight between big food and small farmers producing high quality food. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So that's why, again, the fight between vegans and non-vegans is, no, I don't believe in it. Fundamentally, I don't believe in it. But the goal of my work with that is not to put people down, but to give people understanding that they may want to make better choices potentially, and they don't need to sacrifice themselves, because the problem is corporations abusing the land, corporations abusing the food industry. That's where we have the problem with ecology, desertification of land, deforestation. That's where the problem is. It's intensive farming and all of those like practices. It's not meat eaters that do this. No, it's the poor organization that's not earth forward organization, not ecosystem forward organization of businesses that produces a ton of food waste, that produces destruction of the ecosystems. It's not on people, it shouldn't be on people's shoulders to become malnourished in the name of earth. No, it's not going to be this way. It's not going to work this way. Given how psychotic humanity is, how psychotically humanity evolves, the only reason for this to be happening is psychotic practices that prioritize quick gains, quick monetary gains that are not really strategic in terms of time, and then searching for poor solutions, band-aids. That's the main problem. It's not veganism or meat eating. No. Look up Natalie Fulton. She's a vegan and openly talks about making lamb too expensive to afford or making it illegal to eat. Luckily, she lost. I'm not gonna look her up because I'm not going to emotionally invest in that. I don't want to. I don't want this to exist in my space. I'm not going to fuel it up. I'm not going to read about it because I have a feeling where the problem is. She's not the problem. Bovine and bovine waste products regenerates the soil. Yeah, if properly managed. Yeah, they are. The bones, the manure, all of that is fertilizer, essential fertilizer, moreover. And that's what I stand for. It's, again, everything could be done better. But when you live in the environment where you are only focusing on profits, and oftentimes short-term profits, that's where we see the problems, usually. That's where we don't care about the consequences. I've been raw for 2 years and it's finally the true feeling of being home. Raw vegan? Raw meat eating? You mean that you quit and you feel being home? Or are you at that stage of raw veganism when you feel like you're finally at home? Please specify. Supplements is not a raw food. They aren't, indeed. I'm a real vegetarian. Nice, nice. Just make sure to do homocysteine test, parathyroid hormone test, and cell membrane omega-3 tests. Because those things are quiet killers of vegans. I eat only foods that vegetate. Okay. 2 years, yeah, I mean, again, just monitor your state very attentively. My suggestion would be, since you came to my live stream, if you are vegan, be very open to quitting veganism. Because if you think that you need to fix something in your vegan diet, it may not work ever, because there are things, again, watch my playlist on vegan deficiencies, that will... there are no plants that will supply those, ever, no matter what you do. No matter how you eat them, no matter how much of them you eat, there are just no nutrients. And so just be mindful that if there are problems, you likely need to step outside and try animal products. If you don't like it, you can always go back. That was my philosophy when I quit, because I didn't intend on quitting. I intended on running an experiment because I tried everything on raw veganism, but it didn't work. Nothing worked, and I was like, okay, let me try eating fish and eggs. And then something switched, and I realized my mistakes. Fruits and leafy greens is our truth. Ah, by the way, are you? Oh my God, you're saying truth. Are you into that watermelon free melon society? By the way, because somebody was commenting about truth on my channel, and a couple of people they referred me to that group. Whoops. Supplements is not the plant, whole food or raw. Yes. I just discussed, by the way, with Char. She was taking that supplement from, what's his name? He's also raw vegan. He made supplement with cellulose that sells for $100 to 2 weeks worth. Most leafy greens are not edible in nature. I'm not a rabbit, I don't eat dark leafy greens. Take your Dr. Gundry nonsense away. Dr. Gundry, I think, is onto something though with lectins. Because I'm not familiar with his work in detail. I remembered, Dr. Gundry was, when I was in grad school, for some reason I saw a lot of the advertisements of Dr. Gundry on my browser. When you open the browser, you have those news like Dr. Gundry or heart surgeon, foods that heart surgeons suggest to avoid and stuff like that. So that's where I was exposed to Dr. Gundry a lot. Never read his studies much, but I know that he's against the lectins. But then from experience, I also derived the group of lectins that don't work for me. And it's not even gluten as much. But I started experimenting with foods. So Dr. Gundry is onto something. And leafy greens, I don't know. I'm like thinking, I wouldn't eat most of them. But some of them I enjoy, for sure. And aromatic greens especially. My concern truly is the fact that we are eventually gonna have to naturally make the difference. Whether we're thirsty or hungry, more or less, is gonna have to get balanced. I don't think so, because humans are part of nature and we regulate very well with nature. And I think, again, if you're born, you're not supposed to sacrifice vital resources because there were resources for you to be born. If you were born, there were not resources. And if someone tells you, if someone who owns corporations who destroy the earth tells you that you need to sacrifice your vitality for something, they are manipulating you. It's wrong. It's like, women are blamed for using feminine hygiene products. There are companies, because they pollute the environment. There are factories that pollute the entire enormous basins with wildlife, like fertilizer companies. They're destroying enormous masses of land, of water, with unique animals in them, and they pay to not be punished ever. They pay to have air monitors shut off the day they have some explosion going on, emitting a bunch of crap. When you are told by those organizations and corporations that it's you who needs to be, how you word it, thirsty or hungry, more or less, you need to show middle finger and insist on your natural right to consume natural food. Which natural food, again, if you are very deeply into natural hygiene in terms of raw veganism, then it's a separate subject. But since you're aware of the fact that you're going to be thirsty or hungry more or less, no, I don't know, I doubt that. Temporarily, I mean, of course, human is resilient. But choosing it when you have resources available, choosing it, I don't think that it's a prolific idea. My opinion. Okay, so there is a conversation between vegan and non-vegan person. But again, I will let you guys figure it out. I expressed my opinion on that. In general, I support any shamanism that people do, like any shamanism that makes people feel good. As long as you are aware that you're feeling good, as long as there is no element of sacrifice, as long as there is like, because again, a lot of things like, as long as there's balance in life, because if your entire life turns into trying to fix your body while on some exotic lifestyle, it's unbalanced. That's already kind of problematic. If something unambiguously works for you, any practice, any activity, and allows you to live your life to the fullest, why not? But then again, honesty with yourself. Do you like what you see in the mirror? Do you like how your mind works? Do you like where you are mentally, socially? Do you like where you are in terms of your self-realization? Like absolute honesty. Are you sure that you are not craving certain things, like no certain nutrients? Are you sure you're not making sacrifice? Are you sure you're not plugged into certain like systemic belief that manipulates you into sacrifice? So that's my opinion on that. But then, yeah, if anything, I mean, I don't know. But it can be part of enjoyment of life. A lot of people, for example, think that certain kinds of green tea makes them feel something so special, something so revitalizing. So they swear by that rare sort of green tea. They turned into a ritual. They enjoy it so profoundly. Why not? Can have a place. It's an enjoyment. It's part of our life amusement. It's time when we focus on ourselves. But again, from my raw vegan experience, I just felt like it turned from wow when it was elimination diet, and when it replenished some minerals possibly, some of them, not calcium for sure. And then it turned into catabolism, like complete destruction. And that's where it became very scary. Maybe again, maybe you will feel that way later in life, I don't know. It may happen eventually when you will feel more like you need to change some things. But again, I only encourage you to, I'm talking to the raw vegan person, I'm only encouraging you to be aware that you can choose outside of veganism. It's not necessary for you if you're going vegan for health, raw vegan for health, for some spiritual reasons. It's not necessary to stick with veganism. And then another thing, I don't know, I want to make a video about raw veganism, like spirituality on raw veganism and meat eating. I don't know if it will be interesting. Because you're dehydrated because your body is lacking essential amino acids in your gut because you keep causing dysbiosis in fruits and leafy greens. By the way, yeah, that's another thing. Dehydration can be... when I started researching after I quit veganism, I realized that there are so many processes that are not linear, that have certain indirect influences on your biochemistry. So the fact that person is dehydrated, yes, indeed, may be the outcome of certain secondary process. Собака моя. Маленькую мою, можно мамочку поработать, ладно? Собака моя. Иди отсюда. Same with vitamins, same with nutrients, other nutrients. So another thing, the form of nutrients that they come into your body, and vitamin deficiencies, yes, they can cause certain things. Then also think about, what is dehydration? Dehydration is imbalance in minerals, certain like properties in your cell, because your cells, they uptake minerals when those cross the gut wall, and so there is this osmosis going on. So minerals can be expelled by the cell and taken up. Indeed, you need to have healthy gut. Healthy gut is impossible without collagen. Gut is collagen. It's a pipe composed of collagen. Vegan diet destroys collagen. That's true, it's fact, it's proven, it's observed. I can name you several mechanisms through which collagen is being destroyed, so gut is being destroyed on vegan diet. That's a fact. To a larger or bigger degree, to a smaller degree. Thank you, yes, he's very cute. And another thing is that your cells must be healthy too. To be capable of this exchange, to be performed healthily. And again, nobody prohibits anyone. For example, what I did, I was on raw vegan diet. I kept my raw vegan diet. I removed foods that were not comfortable for me to eat, that were useless, like seeds and nuts. And I replaced them with meat, with animal products. That's all I did. Seeds and nuts were hydrating me, no. They were only flushing minerals out. So if you come from the perspective of dehydration, how does consumption of animal products that carry essential nutrition for retention of all membranes, actually cell membranes will be suffering without choline, without omega-3s? Think about that. You cannot be hydrated, you cannot have healthy cellular exchange going on without those nutrients. They're not present on raw vegan diet, especially. On vegan diet, they're hardly accessible. How does addition of nutrients that are missing on a vegan diet while keeping the hydrating fruits and leafy greens, how is that going to prevent you from getting hydrated? When the only thing that you will do, you will supply natural antioxidants and essential nutrition, and some non-strictly essential nutrition. How is that going to prevent you from being hydrated? How? What is the logic there? Plus, another thing is hydration. You mentioned hydration, but our body is largely made of lipids. Every cell membrane is made of saturated fats, fatty acids. Their body is, yes, it contains a lot of water, but this water is not free water. It is water that is bound to compounds. Hyaluronic acid also comes from animal foods. Hyaluronic acid holds on to water. So I just don't see the logic in avoiding animal products in the context of dehydration. Yep, essential fatty acids are very important as well, yes. And such saturated fat is important, yes. We are made of saturated fat, just as any animal. I mean, I can say that we're made of saturated fat, largely made of saturated fat. We're made of protein, water, and everything. So, but it's an integral component of our makeup. I just wanted to, collagen is important. Yes, collagen is stomach wall, gut wall, heart valves, joints and skeleton, and skin. This is collagen. People forget, they think that collagen is only skin, but collagen is literally, and it's my pet peeve that vegan diet is advertised for gut health when it causes IBS and destruction of gut. It causes micro disruption of the gut lining through consumption of copious amounts of legumes and grains. Then It creates conditions for destruction of collagen. It prevents a supply of collagen, of nutrients necessary for collagen formation. I just don't understand how it is possibly advertised for gut health and also for heart health. For skeletal health, for joint health. How? So it's a big thing. Collagen also helps your skin to not dry out and get wrinkles. Yeah, I mean, skin is where we can observe all that. But I think, again, that on the deeper level, people should be aware that collagen is it's the most abundant protein in our body. And vegan diet does destroy collagen, the most abundant protein that we're made up of, largely. So, that's... Our brain needs collagen and fat to regenerate, in my opinion. Perhaps. But the thing is that, yeah, I just don't get the correlation. How does specifically elimination of animal products aid in hydration when you can consume sources of fat that are of animal origin and eat the same foods as you eat on a raw vegan diet? That's precisely what I do, pretty much. I just don't rely on them for as much nutritionally. I rely on them for very specific localized applications. But I don't rely on them for like harvesting protein from grass. I cannot do that. I cannot harvest protein from fruits. I cannot harvest fatty acids from plants. It doesn't work like that. That's why I use other foods that are more straightforward, more applicable for this application, while supplementing those foods with certain things of plant origin. The skin is the largest organ human have. Yeah. It is. Skin is actually a fascinating thing because it has so many functions, actually. It even produces hormones. It's a very interesting organ. It produces essential vitamin, specifically human skin. Rare animal is capable of that. I think very few animals produce vitamin D in their skin. Sheep produce in the fur, I think. But it's a very fascinating body part. I didn't mean to discourage Norea much, but again, I just want to give you some food for thought, some questions to challenge your beliefs possibly. Because I don't know, again, I don't want to project my experience of raw veganism onto others. But again, I observe the trends. And when I was raw vegan also, I didn't just follow anybody. It has been recorded that vegans take longer to heal from a skin wound. They not only heal longer, they don't heal well. I saw the studies that show that plastic surgeons were saying that, and people who work in cosmetology, they don't prescribe. They avoid prescribing collagen-stimulating procedures to vegans because they just don't produce collagen. Testicles also have vitamin D receptors. Yeah, you can suntan. There's a practice among people who are into natural living. There's a practice of spread it to the gut, basically, and they produce a lot of vitamin D. But yeah, so when I was picking my heroes, when I was raw vegan, when I was interested researching that diet, I didn't just choose anybody. I didn't like how most people looked. And to me, it's an important criterion because you can distinguish a person whose appearance is this way naturally and a person who artificially brought themselves through malnourishment, We perceive that. We have intuition for that. We see malnourishment. We'll see that something is off. And there were no people, except for a couple, that I liked, that I aspired to follow. And in vegan crowd, more so. I didn't like how vegans looked. I looked at raw vegans and I saw that they had certain health examples. Just a couple. Not many. Very few. And then I adopted their school of thought. People who are into fruitarianism, people who are in tender greens and fruits, I was like, nah. It's not, it doesn't feel right. It felt creepy. That's why initially I chose very like select group of people with certain attributes that I vibed with, that projected health. Not all of them. And then I was researching on my own, and it made sense why those people, from my independent research, why those people looked like they did, compared to, let's say, fruitarians. But then they didn't age well either, kind of. Then I realized that they also opted for photo filters and video filters and plastic surgeries. So that was an unpleasant relation. Hopefully, Norair is going to the fish market and get himself some sashimi or something. Sashimi is delicious. Yeah, that would be an interesting experiment. Again, if you don't have any ethical constraints, it would be quite curious to run an experiment, like just short-term experiment. But the thing is that I understand with veganism is, I made a video why you can't quit veganism. The reason being is, I mentioned in that video, that when you are vegan, you think that you already went through, let's say, a couple of years of veganism and you finally adapted to a vegan diet. You feel like you've adapted. You feel like your body composition, biochemistry, all reconstructed. And when your body reconstructed, you are afraid to eat anything like of animal origin or any like processed food or whatever it is, whatever that was in your previous diet, because you think that it will steal your progress and it will cancel all of that adaptation that you went through for the past 2 years. 3 years, 5 years. The more years pass, the harder it is. And that's the trap. Because you think that it comes with this understanding of feeling of purity from those plant foods, when in reality you're in catabolism. It's far from purity. You're not producing detoxifying compounds in your body as much. You're not supplying real antioxidants that benefit your body. You're not supplying a lot of things that help your body to really purify. So your body becomes more intoxicated on deficient diets than it is on clean but nutrition-rich diets. That's how I understand it now. People cannot be in catabolism all the time, destroying their cells. They need to be in anabolism sometimes too. It probably makes sense for some people to create the condition of starvation in circumstances of some specific diseases. That's why there is such thing as healing fasting. People like do this sometimes. It's actually the practice that can be practiced even by official medicine under medical supervision. But then if you start researching nutrition, the importance of nutrition includes your ability to detoxify as well by supplying nutrition to your body. Your liver doesn't just work on ether. Your liver doesn't just like live off nothing. Your liver is made of actual cells that die and regenerate. The entire body, kidneys, stomach, gut, heart, lungs, all of the glands, like thyroid, brain, everything. All cells die and regenerate. What are you regenerating them from? Yes, there is some turnover of nutrients, of course. You can work in some economy mode. That's why people, especially people who were on nutrient-dense diets before veganism, they tend to stay vegan longer because those reserves, they last, they allow for regeneration for some time, but then that's it. You cannot rely on turnover for any longer, and so that's when I describe this cliff. When suddenly the person in the mirror is not you. You wake up being not yourself. You walk and it's not you. And being you suddenly starts taking up too much energy. And you think that, oh, that's aging. Or, oh, need more detox. That's what people do. But it's not true. Detox in that case, in case of starvation, will mean only one thing, that you need to eat normally. That you need to eat something super nutrient rich, nutrient dense. Because your body cannot detox without nutrients. Do you know the meaning of black salt? No. When I search it, it shows me black suit. So elaborate if you want. Black salt. This again offers me black suit. I don't know when I search it. No. And even if I do search specifically for black salt, I don't know how to spell it. Is it like mucoid plaque or something? The thing that forms in the gut, right? Black tar in the gut walls, on the gut walls. So that thing, I know this thing. And I talked to my stepfather. He's a doctor. He's facial oral surgeon. And he was, as a part of his schooling, he was attending autopsies. He said that he's never seen that in the guts of humans when they did autopsies. And the thing is that one part, why it can be forming, I actually did the research on that subject. I have a bunch of materials on this topic, but I kind of never made a video on that. First thing I have collection of images from different things that can, like it's photographs of surgeries of different things that happen in the GI tract. What can be extracted from them, what is the pathogenesis of that. And when I was researching that dark thing, dark slime in the gut, the dark slime in the gut comes from laxatives. There is a condition that is caused from necrosis of the gut wall tissue, of the gut lining. That's what gives the mucus dark color. Because like a lot of laxatives, even natural laxatives, they work by, it's a gambit. They sacrifice the cells of the internal gut wall, colon lining. They sacrifice that to agitate and irritate the gut to expel everything. It comes from recurring use of laxatives usually. That's one mechanism of formation of that stuff. Because otherwise there's nothing to colorize the feces with this color. Besides, blood can be also giving that color. But usually it's necrotic cells that are leaching into the mucus lining that gives that color. And that is the only instance where it is medically proven and observed. Other things, when people do expulsion of this matter, it's also, by the way, huge irritation. All procedures for expulsion of mucoid plaque, they involve very barbaric interventions in the colon health. I made a video on fruit juices, by the way, that are related to that. Fructose consumption, like if you rapidly drink juice in a way that your body cannot properly assimilate it. So some fructose leaches into the gut, leaches into the colon, leaches into, like, through the intestine. Doesn't all get absorbed in a timely fashion. Your liver, for example, it cannot break it down, deliver it to the liver. That creates IBS. It creates inflammation in the colon wall. Consumption of fiber, raw fiber, especially like certain like fiber powders, it also irritates the colon wall up to the point of semi-permanent morphological changes on the cellular level. Or there are those things, villi, they literally change their shape and they start overproducing mucus when you eat a lot of fiber. And when you dump a bunch of fruit juices, fruit acids, fructose, that also irritates the gut lining on top of that. Another thing is that all of those cleanses, they can wreak havoc on your gallbladder, on your liver, especially when it comes to fruit juices, causing, for example, stagnation of bile. Bile starts sitting there instead of being injected into the digestive tract. Your liver may start overproducing fat that doesn't know where to go. All of those cleanses themselves, plus also some bentonite, whatever, all of those cleanses, they create that thing. In most cases. I'm not going to claim in 100% cases this is the reason. It is the cleanse themselves that, due to multiple reasons, produce that. And if without any interventions, you do, for example, colonoscopy that only looks in your colon, not even in the intestine. Intestine is long, colon is short. It's this little thing. That's it. This is what all those colonics, all of those cleanses, mucoid plaque expulsions target. That little pipe. And that's what you can image through colonoscopy. That's it. There is no mucoid plaque in the colon. You can watch colonoscopy videos. People, when they prepare for colonoscopy, as they follow a diet that has only certain kinds of fibers, certain kinds of foods, and the preparation lasts 1 week for full evacuation of the colon. And if there is something in the colon, it would cause sepsis. It would cause diverticulitis. It would cause a bunch of stuff there that would require immediate attention. A human cannot live with a bunch of crap sitting in the most absorbing organ of their body and have no symptoms, like acute symptoms. I'm not talking about autoimmunity, all of those magical healing things. The thing that people can achieve through all of those cleanses is reduction of bacterial overgrowth or change in their microbiome composition. And that can temporarily relieve certain symptoms. Because when you eat a bunch of roughage, when you eat a bunch of plants, you do overpopulate your gut. Not always with bacteria that might be 100% beneficial. You can offset the balance of your gut bacteria in a vegan diet. So Plus also depends on your genetics too, how you will be responding to all those changes. So you can have certain benefits from, if you do like colonics, for example, or something like that, some fasting. You can fix your microbiome, or at least shrink the colony of bacteria that there is. But dark hues are a sign of something with some like bile problems, necrosis of the gut wall, and blood in the stool. If there is black, it's due to these 3 reasons, most likely. And I just named you the mechanisms that can do that when people perform those procedures. Let's wrap up maybe, guys. I really want to drink something because I've been talking non-stop for 3 hours already. I just really need to drink and also transition to the nighttime, I guess. I don't know if there are no other questions. Let's wrap up. I'm giving you 2 minutes to come up with questions. Will you do another live stream sometime? Yeah, I will. I will make a poll probably. I don't know. But I actually like live streams so much. It's super cool. I enjoy it so much. Actually, had such a great time. I didn't notice that it was 3 hours already. I'm really thankful that you all guys, you joined and shared this time with me. It's really amazing. I really want to do another stream. I'll make a poll probably like which day works best. I think kind of like early afternoon probably is best for all time zones because you see my following is Australia, UK, US, all coasts. So I need to find the time like gap which works for everybody. And probably weekend will be the best for that. Because that's when people have the most flexible schedules. Good point. Yeah, thank you. 1 minute left for more questions. I usually watch your videos while I'm at work. Classics. I mean, if I look at the stats, that's when people watch my videos usually. Thank goodness for your support and understanding. Let's actually keep the faith going and figuring things out through the healing journey. Absolutely. I mean, I love your spirit so much. I absolutely love it. It's you project so like positively. I really enjoy that. It's something that I super like try to nurture in my life. Glad I got part of this. Hello. Where did you join? Did you join our discussion of mucoid plaque? Or my farewells? I just got here. Oh my god. I literally did the thing that, guys, 2 minutes to ask more questions because I've been talking nonstop for 3 hours and I need to drink and possibly eat an apple or something because I got this raspy voice a little bit. I don't know. I need to learn to talk like, to not float the vocal cords as much, I guess. There are techniques, I think. I think you need to talk more like this, but it will sound like pretentiously. I don't know. We could see you when the stream started. The sun was up. Yep. That's the thing. That also stimulates me to kind of finish it, but then I don't want to finish it either because I'm so enjoying you guys. That's how long it's been, yeah. Soon we'll be enjoying summer months when the day is long before it gets short again. So if there are no other questions, this is the last question offered, then I am going to turn it off. What are the top nutrients missing from vegan diet? Okay. Write them down. Missing or lacking. Let's say missing or lacking, because some of them are not missing, some of them are lacking. They will be vitamin D, preformed vitamin A, conjugated linoleic acid, cholesterol, creatine, carnosine, taurine, carnitine, hydroxyproline, coenzyme Q10, glycine, proline, B12, EPA and DHA, B6, choline, methionine, lysine, K2, zinc, iron, and I thought of something else, but I don't have it written. I have it in my head somewhere where I would need to harvest it. But I was analyzing something recently and iodine, maybe, but you can still get seaweed. Cholesterol, maybe I did say cholesterol, yes. Thank you! Yay! You're welcome. That said, agreeable gray life. That said, I have 1, 2, 3 videos left on vegan deficiencies. Yes, I am making it, but dude, you watched most of them. I made already 6 parts on vegan deficiencies, and you commented on them. But I have 3 left, I think, 3 videos. CLA, minerals, and those like amino acids that are found in. But I mean, I listed 20 nutrients, but I grouped them together. We did a group on methylation, which are B12, methionine, choline. Then also B6 would be there, but I decided to separate it because it's kind of smaller thing. Then then cholesterol, vitamin D was in separate group, and also collagen amino acids that I actually couldn't analyze because with collagen amino acids, I could analyze them, but the analysis kind of went into a very interesting direction. That was proving other deficiencies through observing the differences in biochemistry in vegans. And then we did cholesterol and cholesterol, vitamin D were together, then retinol was separate, methylation was separate, then lysine also was with methionine, kind of we discussed it, then K2 was a separate video. And then coenzyme Q10, creatine, and yeah, collagen things were separate. Yeah, so we have only just a few left. I'm always excited about your upcoming videos. The education you provide for us is invaluable. I really appreciate it. It's super kind of you. I'm super happy if you enjoyed. Good point. I'm going to go back and rewatch those videos and pay more attention next time around. I agree, love how informative they are. Guys, thank you so much. It means so much to me. I'm so happy that you feel a lot of value from them. Because this work is fascinating for me too. And I'm super happy that it can make some contribution. And super happy for your appreciation. Means a lot to me. But yeah, actually, you mentioned that you will rewatch them. Yeah, it is probably difficult to follow along the first time around. I noticed, by the way, like when I watch videos, YouTube videos, I usually start thinking about the subject. If it's something that's super relatable, how I watch videos, I have to watch them multiple times. Whenever it's something of relevance, I watch certain videos and like some certain maybe coaching, it may be certain lecture, whatever. I start listen. I usually play videos on the background while I'm doing something. I watch a blog, and it triggers some thought in me. I'm like, wow, it makes sense, and I start extrapolating on the subject. The speaker moves on. The person, the author of the video, talks about totally different things. I realize that I'm not listening. I plug into the video after I entertain my thoughts sparked by the first part of the video. I go back, I listen, so I missed the third of the video. And I go back, I listen to the thing again. It's like, it becomes an iterative process to me too. Like to actually grasp the whole thing that the author put in the video. Especially if it's a long lecture. I start thinking and I lose part of it. Go back, start thinking, all of this hopping happens. I'm going to have to take notes. That's just how my brain works. I do want to understand this material more deeply. Yeah, and another thing you can do, by the way, I put papers in the videos. You can stop, find those papers, use Sci-Hub. They are all accessible. Every paper that I have there is accessible on Sci-Hub. You can open them and read them yourself too. Because there are certain things like that I cannot include in the video. Like the paper, imagine the paper will be huge work, several years worth of insights and understanding. And certain like factors that go into that. So it's like, I don't like cherry pick information, but I find certain things that explain the mechanisms. But sometimes papers, they discuss way more. And there could be some interesting things that they talk about with respect to the issue. Or some like authors' speculations, or again, some just related topics. Because some papers, they reviews, for example, they go and talk about a certain nutrient, and they may look at it not from the perspective of deficiency of this nutrient, but some other properties, some other relevant things. Oh, that's awesome. I will check out the papers as well. Yes, that will be cool. Is your husband as smart as you are? I guess smarter, maybe. I don't know, depends on what. Any other questions? Comments? You're very smart. It's incredibly impressive. Thank you so much. You are just such a love bug. It's super cool. You came to this chat. You got exposed to so much information that contradicts your choices. And you are just literally spreading love. I respect it so much beyond anything. It's so cool. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see this channel propel. Me too. but yeah, it is propelling. It is propelling. It's a process, you know. I don't know, maybe it's me. Maybe I need to figure something out. But I know that big projects, like big profound projects, they take statistically like 4 years to work like full force. 4 or 5 years. And if you only knew, like, I started YouTubing in general, starting with my Russian channel. I started YouTubing in 2020, I think. God, I came so far with that. And now, again, what I started with was that I am now doing some practices because I want to be prepared for a bigger audience. Because the thing is that, if you think about it, there is a reason why some things can embrace large audience. They can embrace larger scale. And that's something that you need to figure out. Just mechanics, it's just know-how. Have a great evening. Keep working, it will happen. It does take time. Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. You also have a great evening. And thank you for joining and also bringing some positive, pleasant, kind words. Have you told your story on other channels? You mean other channels of other people? Thank you so much for your work. It's really valuable. Thank you so much. Makes me very happy, guys. Actually, on other channels, I was a guest on Samir Dosani's channel. That's where I went, and he has an interview with me. Yeah, it's actually a good point. I want to have. I am now, yeah, again, what we started with, I am working on maybe possibly reformatting, maybe doing some things that will, I don't know, I won't say much. I will do it and then it will be seen. But I'm working on certain things. I'm not working on harvesting like interviews, like bringing me there yet. I'm bringing myself internally to the point where I will be ready for being comfortably, properly on big channels, for example. Also, by the way, I mean, Char gave me so much exposure too. Char was like giving me shout outs a lot. So that's a huge thing that she did to me. Well, I expect to be world famous at some point. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your faith in that. And I mean, yeah, that's thing. But again, imagine we love Char. We also do. Imagine you being world famous right now. That requires certain personal characteristics in your approach to work. So you cannot just wake up super famous and not lose your mind and not have anything, it's something unbalanced. It requires certain thing that I'm actively trying to figure out right now. It requires that it factor to make it happen. And that's fully internal work in my opinion. It's internal work, and again, I'm learning, understanding certain marketing things because a lot of it is marketing. You're creating a product. When you're creating content, you're creating products. And sometimes you forget about it because you're like, oh, what am I creating? I'm just, okay, I popped the camera and I talked about something. But again, I need to formulate the product. I need to make people understand why they're watching what they're watching. And so such that it becomes very clear. I need to distill that matter. And yeah, I hope to find ways to succeed in this work, in this project. It's an absolute pleasure to have your support and letting us witness the transitional phase of the process, meaning sharing your experiences is one very special and rewarding part of our journey. Thank you so much. I admire your wisdom as well as your knowledge. I can't agree more with everything just said. It's a process of growth. Yeah, and it feels like it's a huge work, literally rewiring your mind. Yesterday I was listening, right now, I don't attend any like coaching programs or anything, but I just listen to lectures of people who done that, who are specialists in marketing, who are specialists in like development of personal brand. And there's so much things that I was completely oblivious to because I don't have a coach. I only have data from from my core audience, from my core following. That's the only objective feedback that I have. There is no producer. You know how celebrities are crafted not by themselves when they go for success, for like actual big success. They have a person who curates their everything for them because they see them from outside. They see the celebrity as a product. When you are the product and product maker in the same jar, you don't see yourself from the outside as clearly. So the way I judge my product, the way I judge my channel, the way I judge my audience comes exclusively from my localized understanding of the world. I was not in the head of my customers. So what I see as right or wrong comes from me, which is good, which is a good guideline for sure. But in terms of marketing, when you become a product, and that's both sad and good part, because on the one hand, your core message stays, which is a good part, but when you turn your channel into a product, it may feel like some intimacy may be broken, some magic may be broken, which it doesn't. You can approach it in a way that you keep this intimacy and magic with relationships with your audience still. I think that's where the major success is found. That's what I strive for. But at the same time, yes, you have to step outside of your understanding of yourself, of your product, right in this moment. Because if the channel, the product, anything is not growing, then you just need to change something in the approach. That's it. I mean, I've done so many tasks in my life. I know how it works. When something doesn't work, you change something. You see it at a different angle, you try something else, and it suddenly works. It's just how it is. So that's the part that I'm trying to be cognizant about too, because yes, there's natural growth, there are natural limitations that you need to acquire certain critical mass for it to bloom. But there are cases where you go, there's a channel with super valuable information not being watched. But people who steal, for example, materials from that channel, that's actually one of the irrational fears of mine was that I'm a small channel. There's any like blogger can steal my work with like million subscribers and go for it and have a lot of monetization and everything from it. That was one thing. But at the same time, I understand that it's totally bullshit thinking. But it happens sometimes. There are people who never make it because they just don't hack some authenticity in a way how they deliver themselves to the people in the way that they want to be seen, not from the idea of themselves type of thing. So that's the thing that I'm working on right now. Complicated, but it's simple in a way if you think about it. On this positive note, thank you for those insights. Thank you for asking. Thank you for letting me talk about them, because I love, when I'm learning something, it's very important. When you're learning something, it's really important to just talk it through such that it becomes your settled knowledge. Behind the scenes, yes, behind the scenes. Yeah, it's multifaceted work, as with everything, right? You cannot make a cool research but then not be able to present it at the conference beautifully. So you need to be able to make beautiful presentation. You need to be able to have social skills, because people will come to you and ask you questions. You want to make collaborations and stuff like that. That's how you develop in profession. You cannot just be a lab rat per se. That's an analogy too. And to make money, you also need to have a name. To have a name, you need to do things. So it always boils down to creation of some form of personal brand and making it very, 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 very well curated. So, yep, thank you. But we're growing. We're growing. It's good. And I think with certain things, with certain informations, it's going to grow fast. I remember in PhD program, half the learning is related to research, the other half is related to presenting yourself. And wording. When you learn which words are no words, how to, like literally you spend so much time rewarding your presentations. It's just crazy. When your advisor and you are already like with red faces, with like so much emotional tension, fixing those like little semantic things just because that's the demand, that's the standard, that's what will sell it the best. When you're like, but I want to share this super valuable information, it's so valuable. No, cut it out. And you're like, no, I'm attached to it, it's my biggest insight. And they're like, nobody cares, they can ask you a question if they are interested. And you're like, no, please. No, just that it's the demand standard, but it's the way that's receivable by others. Yes, finding on average. Yes, that's finding the universal language. Because universal language, you must be understood. You must be received. Your energy must be contagious too. And that's what I started with. That energy of like, oh, I'm a victim of veganism, is bad energy. It does not deliver this badass thing that is contagious. It will only attract occasional people, because people cannot just dwell on that forever. It will attract people in a very narrow period of their life, and you will be that short-term harbor for people to be in that mood. And when I myself, I'm tired of that paradigm, and I want to be like, whoa, that's so cool, that's amazing, let's get excited about something, let me show you this, let me show you that, it's so cool, the world is amazing, blasting and everything. So that is the energy that I am. Not even in manic phase, but in general, that's what I love. Or, I mean, there are so many states, there's so many characters, roles, ways to represent yourself from the positive lens that will create that beautiful paradigm that I cannot keep being like in the paradigm of veganism that forever and just feel authenticity in it, my authenticity. That's actually the thing that happened with raw veganism. When raw veganism started like destroying me, I felt like I could no longer work in my YouTube. I just could not. I felt like I am not being authentic. I need to focus on solving the problem and then go on YouTube. And whatever it takes, the problem must be solved, because authenticity, because being true to yourself is the most important thing, I think, in life. That's the guiding star. The moment you lose honesty to yourself, you're losing the guiding star. You're detached, you're disconnected. There is no this like, I don't know, let's word it as divine plug that you have, that gives you that energy, that gives you the resource, love, everything. Please, I suggest to follow Doug Graham. He's doctor from the most prestigious upbringing. He has in the past. Sorry, I'm past that. I'm familiar with him. Focusing on the benefit of getting nutrients versus focusing on the issues of not getting enough. It's like the glass half full versus half empty. Yeah, and when there's not enough, for example, juxtaposition of that lack to abundance, then yes, you shift focus to lack, and that is like vegan deficiencies. I mean, vegan deficiencies. It's the name of vegan deficiencies project. Then another thing is ex-veganism. Yes, ex-veganism project will be completed because there are people coming out, and that's literally to address this short phase in people's lives when they are quitting veganism, and for people who are considering veganism. But then again, when you're considering veganism, we are not going to go into that. But for people, it will be a support hub for them to see the veganism and for what it is, what it does to people. And so that will be addressing an issue that does exist, and that requires attention. So it will fill the niche. And then further, I want to get back into my element. and that, yeah, that like pro something instead of anti something. Do Graham, by the way, I don't like how he looks. I can't follow him, I mean. And he says a lot of fallacies. On that note, see how we can all heal. Yeah. Yeah, that love feeling is always a sign that you should change something. Yes. Yes. And I look at myself too, like, you know how I was looking at myself when I was making raw vegan videos. I'm like, dude, you need to eat. You need to change something. And when I talk about veganism is this, veganism is that, I look at myself and I'm like, dude, you need to change something because it's not you. Like, you see me now, right? So I am getting excited. You see energy that is like, whoa, because I'm opening my heart right now. I'm talking about something that is so important to me. I'm trying to find the words to explain that. I'm trying to like convey this message, and I get so excited so through this vulnerability, at the same time honesty, and it comes out so easily, so weirdly, maybe not very eloquent, but the energy is pure. You feel that. You see that. You get a kick. And when I look at myself, when I do those like more negative videos, I'm like, it's very heavy, as if you're burdened by something. Why? It's not gonna work. This is not the energy of life. It's not the energy of light. It's not the energy of desires. It's not the energy of like, go get it, go grab it. Because I believe that desires are what drives energy, life force. Desires are life force. So that's what I don't see, and I want to see that in the videos that I film of myself. Which actually an interesting thing for everyone who's watching. Film yourself talking, walking, doing daily things. Because I have this luxury, I do this it's my work, to see myself on camera. It's a huge thing that opens your eyes on what you really are, what you really project into the world so much. It's the crazy thing. It's a super cool training and a super cool like practice to do. Because sometimes, like, you know, you have an image of yourself in your head, but there will be some impediment that you don't quite realize, but you feel that something is off. You can film yourself and you will see it as an observer very clearly where that is. Maybe it's something sitting on your shoulders, on your neck. Maybe you like squeeze your lips. Maybe your eyes are like tired. Maybe you do this with your forehead all the time. Maybe your like belly is tense. Maybe you like to cross your arms and legs, like being in this closed pose. Stuff like that. It's really eye-opening. It's a humbling experience recording oneself and putting it out there. It can be. Hey, I love your work. Random question. You always sound very natural, but still very straight to the point in your videos. Do you have bullet points before I record, or do you write all of it down? I usually have, what do I have? I usually have either printout of, I guess I work on this for lecture videos. Like, so videos that are lectures, I usually have a script because I work with literature. If I don't have a script, if I don't have like slides, like some thing going on, I'm not going to memorize 45 minutes worth of very particular materials probably. So I do have notes for that. I have a script that is written. It's a storyboard. Yes, thank you, storyboard. I have that, and I usually like separate them into paragraphs. I usually try to divide them into paragraphs pretty like finely, such that I have, you know, like I see the block in front of my eyes. And actually, that's a trick for emails. If you write business emails, That's a super important trick. To write business emails, divide them in paragraphs separated by spaces, because that makes a world difference in how information is perceived. But so I have those paragraphs, yeah, in front of me, and I go through them, and I make like headers with some like colors such that they pop. I don't need to get distracted much during filming. So that's what I do. And sometimes you will notice I cut the pauses. Sometimes I need to go like refresh the material. I read it and then I return back to the filming. So I cut those parts out. But I think first video of the series on vegan deficiencies was the most chopped, because I was like, I created this setup. Now I work at the table. I work at the desk. I figured out how to do it on the desk. There I had my laptop sitting on the chair in front of me, some papers. I printed everything. I had my audio recording equipment, camera. I had so many things to multitask. And I was just going all over the place. So that's why I have a lot of crops and chops. There was some person who was complaining that there was like heavy editing killed it for me. I'm like, dude, killed it for me too. It was not my favorite experience either. But later I started being much more like streamlined with that, optimized the system a little bit. But yeah, those things I do record. But then I usually just have bullet points. If it's some video that's like, I have some thought and it came. What I do, I often have those thoughts when I walk with my dog outside. So I just pop the recorder, I record the voice, and that again, as I mentioned like earlier, it internalizes my knowledge of that. So if I had a thought, I materialize it, and it's there, I know it for sure. Now that I know this knowledge, I can create a story around it. And that's how I work, and then just put bullet points, and that's it. Like key points to cover, and then it's just speech that comes out. But it's an interesting feedback. Thank you. It's pretty like comforting compliment for me, because I don't know like how my speech is being perceived. So I'm really happy that you enjoy listening to me. Comforting, but also inspirational to develop. You know, what's your name? My name is Anastasia. It's a Greek name. Whoa, 400. No, 241 people joined in total today. Wow, it's insane. That's super cool. Any other questions, guys? Anastasia, wow, that's a fun name. Yes, it is. It is a pretty fun name. I guess, if a name can be fun. Chef Jolly Roger, I see you have a YouTube channel. What do you talk about? Veganism as well. Let's see. I'll be searching you now. Your thumbnails are so brutal, yo. Raw Formula, do you have a vision or goal for your channel? That's where I was also discussing today. That I am going to wrap up with vegan deficiencies, so I'm finishing vegan deficiency series. Then I'm working on ex-vegan documentary, and then I am going to. I have some videos, some like fun videos on nutrition as well, and then whatever pops, you know. There are a lot of questions that I can address, but the general thing is that I want to work on the video product that is not in the position of something. Again, I gave this analogy earlier that there is Christianity and there is Satanism. Satanism exists or was born only because Christianity existed. You remove Christianity, there is no Satanism. Some fractions of it. With veganism, it's the same. If you remove veganism, there is no of my channel. And that's why I want to do something that does not depend on veganism per se, if you know what I'm saying. My B12 is 700. Okay, I guess over 900 is bad. I have no idea. Never been in 900s. 700 is good. 700s is good. It must be over 500. I always looked at deficiency in B12 because deficiency in ferritin, like in iron, I mean low ferritin and stuff. I know the low boundaries of those nutrients because they are relevant for vegans. B12 should be 500 and higher. If it's overboard, I don't know. I've never faced the informational field where it would be discussed as a concern. But to read about it, I don't know. But yeah, so I want to work on something. I want to do some experimental videos, by the way, soon. I just wrote some topics. So when I see what will happen, I can say bye and I can wait for your next video. Thank you so much, Norei. It's very nice to have you around here. Doesn't B12 get eliminated in excess? Now what, it's tricky, you know, because it's stored in the body. Excess, I mean, it should be eliminated, but if your body stores it, then what does it mean if your body stores the excess of B12 if that happens? I don't know if that happens, but if it does happen, then what it means that the body holds on to it. Who knows? When I was vegan, I remember being told not to worry about taking massive doses of RDA supplements. Yeah, because I mean, I was on 40,000% RDV sublingual. But it's like one thing again, it's like you eat a lot of the nutrient and it gets eliminated versus you eat certain nutrient and it gets accumulated and then why? Type of thing. What does it mean? But I don't know if that happens. It's just, again, that's how my brain would work to analyze this issue. But like the insights, further insights are unavailable to me. I would need to run the research. I would need to do some study. But that's the direction where I would start thinking in. My dog came. He's bored. He doesn't understand why we're sitting in the dark. Because how's your dog doing? He's doing good. He was betrayed earlier because everybody was eating meat, but didn't give him any because he has his own meat. But his meat was frozen, so it's defrosting. He feels deeply betrayed. And we also need to go for a walk soon. After 3 hours, maybe he has to use already almost 4 hours. I was like 2 minutes just questioned. I have freaking something I need to work on is my personal boundaries because I was meant to leave 45 minutes ago. After 3 hours, maybe he has to use the bathroom. Yes, he might need to. But he also is bored. I mean, boredom, I think, is something that drives him way more unless it's some critical biological need. You're enjoying it anyway. Yeah, I'm enjoying it for sure. I'm enjoying it. There are a lot of interesting things to brainstorm. We're all having fun here. Yeah, I'm really happy about it. Bum bum. I actually was working on the sewing project, and yeah, I need to design pens. Does everybody know that I don't buy clothes at all? I think I say that frequently, but it's my big thing, my big passion. I make clothes because I was a shopaholic, and I used to spend all my weekends shopping sales at different like cool stores to find clothes that I like or dislike less. And then I would imagine how I would make them. My entire childhood I was drawing them, and then I decided that in 2022 that if I want clothes I need to make them, so it forced me to learn sewing. And now I sew everything I want. Super rewarding process, to be honest. But yeah, that's my other sedentary work. You know, it's like cool when hobbies are movement based, because most works nowadays are sedentary. Like any intellectual work is sedentary, and then sewing is mostly sedentary too, and makes sports more critical. Actually, I want to make a video on how I stopped working out for 6 months and then resumed. That would be a cool one to make. Okay, so people started leaving. So will I. Okay? Thank you everyone for attending. It was a blast. I really enjoyed our conversations. Thank you everyone for questions, comments, very kind words, inspiration, support, and for cool ideas. So I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna stop the live stream. And bye-bye. Thank you for chatting with us. Thank you.